Good afternoon, everybody. It's 7 minutes past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson. I am your friend and radio buddy, and we're ready for 4 hours of rock and roll radio where we're going to give you news and information and stuff you haven't heard anywhere else. I'm going to start with that in a moment. I think it's also important today to tell you about the things that I'm not going to talk about. I want you to know that that I have said my piece about messaging. I believe I'm right, and I believe that with the arrival of Corey Lewandowski back to the campaign, that perhaps that message will be reinforced in a way where we'll see some improvement on it. But one way or the other, it is what it is. I said my piece. I'm not going to keep harping on it because beating a dead horse and all that. But and I'll tell you the other thing that I'm not going to be talking about in a great deal of detail, and that is polls. We say, what? You love the polls? Well, yeah, I do. I love that number crunching stuff. I get it. I like to dig into the internals of the polls and all of that. But here's the basic thing of it. Today, there's a poll by Fox that has Trump up by 2. There's another poll that has her up by 4 in the general election number, and a third poll that has Trump up by 4. I mean, so look, the polls, let's just put it this way. It's TC until further notice. Too close to call. It's a tight race. That's all you need to know. It's nip and tuck. And I'll bring you back more information about the polls if there is some movement. But for the moment, just understand this. This is a 50-50 country, and it has been for a while, and we are right back at a 50-50 election, it seems to me. You'll see some polls that have him up a little bit, and you see some polls that have her up a little bit. Basically, what that tells you is we are in for a hell of a ride all the way till November 5th. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. Just know that the polls are too close to call. Now, we are going to carry some of the president's press conference this afternoon. It's supposed to start in about, somewhere like, 21 minutes from now. So after the news at the bottom of the hour, hopefully things will be rocking and rolling, and he'll be past his introductions, and we'll dip in and hear a lot of what he has to say. So you'll get that coming up this hour. I want to start off this hour, though, however, with some talk about election integrity. And, if I have one little gift, and I'm not bragging, but I know I have a lot of weaknesses, but I think I have one gift, and that is to look at a lot of different stuff and put together things in a way that perhaps other people have not looked at it before. And I find several stories here that cause my alarm bells to go off with regard to voter integrity in the coming election. So let me just share these stories. And then let's talk about what I think it means. The first one is from justthenews.com, and a bunch of hackers got together and decided to test the election machines being used in many voting places around the country. Hackers at a conference last weekend found numerous vulnerabilities in election machines, while the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, known as the EAC, confirmed that current voting systems to be used in the November election have not yet been tested by third parties for vulnerabilities. While many vulnerabilities were found in election machines at the conference, Georgia is set to use outdated election machines for the November presidential election. And the EAC doesn't have a standard testing process in place to search out vulnerabilities in election equipment. At the annual DEF CON Hacker Conference in Las Vegas this past weekend, hackers hacked into election equipment from various manufacturers, including voting machines, e-poll books, ballot tabulators, this according to Politico. They found many vulnerabilities that will be released in a report soon, and some of them haven't been fixed for a very, very long time. DEF CON Voting Village co-founder Harry Hursty told Politico on Saturday that there were multiple pages worth of vulnerabilities found in election machines, multiple pages, which was similar to previous years and will be detailed in full report coming up this week. Now, listen, this is the quote that grabs my attention, and I think Harry Hursty, who's doing some of these hack jobs to find out where the vulnerabilities lie, I think he's exactly right. Quote, If you don't think this kind of place is running 24/7 in China and Russia, you're kidding yourselves. Ding, ding, ding. Exactly right. We are here for only 2.5 days, and we find all kinds of stuff. It would be stupid to assume that the adversaries don't have absolute access to everything. There's so much basic stuff that should be happening and is not happening. So, yes, I'm worried about things not being fixed. But they haven't been fixed for a long time, and I'm also angry about it. Politico also reported that most of the machines tested at DEF CON are used in at least one jurisdiction around the United States. One state in particular has had election machine vulnerabilities for 3 years that will not be fixed before November. Does that make you a little nervous? Does that make you feel just a little uncertain? I want to bring this to you. And this is a very long story that is written in the Federalist that talks about all of the things that are going on with regard to voter integrity that they're concerned about. But listen to this little paragraph from it. This is from the Federalist. I read large parts of this yesterday, and I'll go back to some of it again. Registration requirements and voter ID laws, which vary by state, do not necessarily prevent ineligible individuals from voting, since non-citizens, in some cases illegal aliens, can obtain relevant forms and identification. As Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin highlighted in a recent executive order, only 3 states, and his are included, require a full Social Security number to register to vote. Okay, you got that? Not everybody requires it, but there are a few out there that do. Here's that other story that I found that sort of puts these all things together and raises my concern a little bit. Hackers, and this is important to you for a lot of reasons, hackers may have stolen Americans' Social Security numbers, every single one of them. Public advocates fear a possible tsunami of identity theft could be coming after a hacking group claims it was able to steal nearly 3 billion personal records, including Social Security numbers. The theft happened in April, according to a class action lawsuit filed in federal court in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It says the hacking group known as USDOD stole the records from National Public Data, which offers personal information to employers, private investigators, and others who do background checks. USDOD reportedly tried to sell the data for $3.5 million, but has now posted most of it for online free if you will exchange other stolen data with them. It claims to have 2.9 billion records, 2.9 billion records, listen, containing personal data from everyone in the U.S., Canada, and UK. Everyone in the U.S., Canada, and UK may have had their Social Security numbers swiped. They're out there. They're floating around. They can be gotten. Several news sites have examined portions of the data and reported they appear to be real people's information. National Public Data has not responded to numerous media requests for comments. According to the website Bleeping Computer, each record consists of the following information: a person's name, a person's mailing address, and their entire Social Security number, with some records including additional information like other names associated with that person, and none of the data are encrypted. So over here you have the governor of Virginia saying, well, we've got a great system here. We require a full Social Security number before you can register to vote, and we're only a handful of them. But here we have Social Security numbers that are out there that anybody who is willing to trade other online information can get. That worries me a little bit. Hackers say we have real issues with the machines, and then we also have hackers that have come in and said that that out there on the black internet, on the dark internet, there is information that can be had that would provide the Social Security numbers, personal data from everyone in the U.S., Canada, and the UK. Do you think that our adversaries are not going to try to exploit this? Do you think that there aren't going to be people out there who will try to exploit this in order to game our election system? It all makes me very, 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 very nervous. I mean, all of these things together, one story, you say, well, that's interesting. You see another story over here, well, that's interesting. You see a third story, but when you put them all together, I think that we have a real reason to have alarm bells going off right now about election integrity. Now, I did not do any of the original reporting on this. I'm relying on the reporting of others, but the people who are reporting this stuff are pretty good reporters. They have done their due diligence, and I believe the information to be accurate. But you know what they used to say, I always used to hear back in the day, was that if you get the Social Security number, you have a name, address, and a Social Security number, then those are the keys to the castle. From there, you can do all kinds of things. You can create all kinds of mayhem. Now, you say, well, hold on. Even if I'm not concerned about election integrity, I'm concerned that my Social Security number is out there on the dark net. You should be concerned. And you ought to take precautions to make sure that your credit system is locked so that nobody can go out there and apply for more credit in your name. So you might want to think about that. I know I certainly am going to do that. But the bottom line here is, I don't think we have a secure system. I like the idea, a whole lot, the idea that we go back to this concept of paper ballots. Yeah, they can't be hacked. Now, they talk about this in one point, and they say, look, the reason we went to electronic voting, it was because of what happened in Florida, and Bush v. Gore, and Gore v. Bush, or whatever it was, where we had hanging chads in Florida, and everybody said, the paper ballots, we got to do better than that, so let's go to electronic balloting. But now, I think there are concerns, legitimate concerns, that these things can be subverted. That these systems are not immune from attack, and there are people out there who want to do harm to our election system. There are people out there who want to have influence over our election, our adversaries in the world, and who knows, if the information is out there and can be gotten, you think the Russians don't have something to trade for a bunch of Social Security numbers from Americans so that they can go out there in the battleground states and create some kind of mayhem around the election? Look, it is a sophisticated thing and really probably above my pay grade. But when I see these three stories and I look at them, at what they might mean one to the other, it says to me, I think we have some real concerns, and that we really need to be doing everything that we can be doing to make sure that we are on guard for this stuff. It may be too late, but one way or the other, this gives me real great concern. It is 20 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Oh, the folks over at Busy Bee, when you need heat or cold AC, you know the number, 775-7833. They're good people, and they've got some back-to-school specials they want you to know about. If you find that you need a new high-efficiency HVAC unit, why don't you get one, and then you'll be eligible to register to win the Healthy Hive giveaway. Now, what this is a $2,000 sponsorship to local schools of the winner's choice, as long as the school is within the service area, not out of region, not out of state. And then they got a thing here, become a member of the Beehive Club, and you want to do that anyway, right? Starts at $99, and for that you get 3 checks on all your systems over the course of a year. Well, you can buy one, and then you'll be eligible to give away a free Beehive membership to somebody like a teacher or a faculty member or a staff of any local school or higher education institutions within the Busy Bee service area. Again, must be here, not out of region or out of state. Other things, if you need HVA service, they have $100 off home indoor air quality products, $250 off water filtration products. I have some of those in my home, and I'm telling you, it has made the water drinkable and delicious. Here's the number, 615-775-7833. Learn more about all the things the folks at Busy Bee have going for you in this month of August by going to their website, busybeehvac.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Several arrests have been made in the overdose death of a Hollywood favorite. And a Nashville man shot last night. Well, he's now been arrested for his role in a crime from last month. We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
25 past the hour. I'm Brian Wilson, bringing you news and information. Over there's Jay Harper in the newsroom. Jay, good to have you in the chair. Jay's waving. And there we have Chris Weber, who is behind the glass pushing the blinky buttons, as always, and keeping me under control. Glad that you're there as well.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. You know, again, this story's been floating around out there. And I have not wanted to report it because I didn't feel like it was locked down, but it now seems to be locked down. You remember when Joe Biden was in Las Vegas, and they said, well, he's got COVID and he's got to go back, and they canceled another event. And we remember we've talked about it a lot. The picture of him walking up the short steps to Air Force One, he looked shaky. Chris, you remember that, how shaky he looked, and we commented at the time, he barely made it up those steps, and we knew that he wasn't. They said, well, he's not feeling well. He's got COVID-19, a mild case of it, but there was always some speculation in that something else had happened, and I'm not going to be able to completely put this one to bed, but I do have some information that I think is pretty interesting about all that. Apparently, at one point, when you have a motorcade, a presidential motorcade, out in front of the motorcade are a bunch of police motorcycles, local police motorcycles, and they are used to clear the intersection so the motorcade can go and escort the president to and from and get traffic out of the way. That's what the motorcade is there for. And they're local police, and it's always impressive when you see the first thing you see is like 15 or 16 motorcycles coming at you, and then you see the rest of the motorcade behind. It is impressive, but when he was in Las Vegas, the event that he did early was at a Mexican food restaurant. And then he was supposed to leave the Mexican food restaurant, but he didn't leave. And everybody's wondering, well, what's he doing in the Mexican food restaurant this long? He's supposed to be on his way to this other event. And there was a big delay, and everybody was curious. Police were told that he was sick, that he was ill. And then the police began clearing the route from the Mexican food restaurant over to the hospital, which was a level 1 trauma center there in the area. Listen to the radio traffic.
I need to get all the major intersections with lights shut down from Desert Inn all the way to Russell. So if you could just start calling out what intersections are going to, I think that's going to be yours. Let's start with the big ones.
Yeah, I mean, you notice sort of the excitement in his voice. He's amped up a little bit there. That's the dispatcher.
Yeah, units on the event channel are going to be moving with the package. But yeah, I want you guys just focus on those 3 major intersections for now. This flag on the POTUS movement. If you can monitor Event 8 channel, that's where movement will occur.
Yeah, for those units that are coming, just start going up and down Eastern. Look for an intersection that needs to be shut down, and then just shut it down.
I'm at Maryland and DI, confirming we're still holding these intersections.
All right, so now that they're all talking about how they've stopped traffic between the Mexican food restaurant and the hospital, and then you hear more.
All right, so right now they're on a hold for something with the president. So if you can go ahead and let some of that north and south flow, but not east and west, just north and south, please.
And then you hear from one of the police officers who's out there, part of the escort service and escort service for the president and his motorcade.
Control 302.
302, go ahead, sir.
Okay, for everybody on the radio, right now POTUS is 421.
POTUS is 421. Now, you have to know a little bit about how police departments work. They speak in code. POTUS is 421. 421 is police code there for sick or injured person. POTUS is 421. He's sick or injured, and they've cleared an emergency route all the way to the hospital.
Control 302.
302, go ahead, sir.
Okay, for everybody on the radio, right now POTUS is 421. He's being seen, so we're just kind of waiting to see how this is shaping out. So for everybody's knowledge, he's 421 right now. We're just trying to figure out what's going on, and we're going to go from there.
All right, so there you have it. I mean, something was going on. Does it prove, that something happened to POTUS beyond the COVID-19? No, but they sure were acting with haste, and they certainly were excited at the moment about all of that. So again, I don't think we've heard the full story as to what happened in Las Vegas. Then there's this, speaking about the Secret Service. We do a lot of reporting on the Secret Service. This comes from Susan Crabtree at Real Clear Investigations. Exclusive and breaking. During a Donald Trump visit to North Carolina yesterday, a woman Secret Service special agent abandoned her post to breastfeed with no permission, warning to the event site agent, according to 3 sources in the Secret Service community. Shortly before Trump's motorcade arrival, I'm told 5 minutes beforehand, the site agent was getting ready for the arrival, started walking to do one final sweep, and found the agent breastfeeding her child in a room that's supposed to be set aside for important Secret Service officials' work. Apparently, she was out of the Atlanta field office. The woman was in the room with 2 other family members who were unpinned. That's Secret Service code for they didn't have the little security pins that allowed them to be there. 31 past the hour now.
Good afternoon. It is 3:31, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We're still looking at a lot of sunshine, and it just keeps getting hotter. We're up to 94 degrees now. A forecast and a traffic report are upcoming. Arrests have been made in Los Angeles in the deaths of Friends star Matthew Perry. He was allegedly buying ketamine from a complex underground drug network. ABC's Alex Stone is in Los Angeles.
Two doctors and some drug dealers saw Matthew Perry as a money source, according to prosecutors, because Perry was willing to spend massive amounts of money to fuel his addiction to ketamine. U.S. Attorney Martina Estrada laying out what one accused doctor wrote.
He wrote in a text message in September 2023, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay."
They allegedly supplied Perry with so much ketamine that it killed him. 3 of the 5 accused are already agreeing to plea deals.
Back here in Nashville, a man who was injured in a shooting last night was later arrested after police say they figured out he was wanted for his own connection to an Antioch robbery. News 2 reports the shooting happened at an apartment complex on Whispering Hills Drive about 10 o'clock last night. Police said a preliminary investigation indicates that 2 armed suspects fired several shots, one of which struck 26-year-old Samuel Giddens. Giddens was reportedly taken to the hospital after being shot in the leg. However, police said the 26-year-old at that time gave them a fake name and fake date of birth at the hospital. But further investigation found that Giddens was identified as one of 3 suspects that pistol whipped a man in an Antioch home before stealing his car back in July. The victim, who was allegedly able to recognize Giddens, that man's now unable to speak properly or even open his mouth due to the injuries he sustained from that pistol whipping. Court records show that Giddens is now in jail on a $155,000 bond. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
You know, did you know that gold is up 78% over the last 5 years? 78%. Silver up 99% in the same time period. Meanwhile, the U.S. dollar has lost 25% of its value since 2020. The government-induced inflation is stealing your wealth, and it doesn't seem that Washington, D.C. has any plans to stop. Gold and other precious metals can be a great shield against inflation theft. Now, listen, you know it's an election year, and you know the politicians will promise to rein in their spending, but it's campaign talk, right? They can't help themselves. That's why no matter who is in office, gold protects you from the D.C. spending sprees. Where do you go to get that protection? Please reach out to my friends Kyle and Hannah at Nashville Gold and Coin. They will take great care of you and keep you well informed on all precious metals. Act now and get your shield against out-of-control government spending. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com and set up your appointment today.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It is let's call it 39 minutes past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson in the chair. We are watching a live feed from Bedminster, New Jersey. This is one of Donald Trump's golf clubs that he owns. And they are going to hold a big press conference there. This is the second press conference that Donald Trump will have held in 1 week. And of course, you know, the what this is compare and contrast this with Kamala Harris, who will not hold press conferences, will not answer questions, will not sit down for an interview. Donald Trump wants to make the comparison that he's out there, he's available, he's talking to the press, he has nothing to hide. And, of course, the contrast couldn't be any more stark. So it was supposed to start about 9 minutes ago, but as is often the case with these campaign events, it seems to be starting a little bit late. So while we're waiting for Trump to show up, we're gonna drop in and listen to as much of it as we can. But I know you want to hear it. So, Chris, if you'll monitor the Trump channel there.
Will do.
The Trump Bat channel.
Speaking of which, it looks like he's getting ready to step to the microphone right now.
All right. Well, then, ladies and gentlemen, let's go now to Bedminster, New Jersey, and listen to what the former president of the United States has to say.
Nice to see you. We have a lot of interesting things to talk about, and we have some very specific things. So we'll take our time. We have plenty of time. I think you have plenty of time. I hope you like the weather. It's very nice. Nice place. Nice location. And I do thank you for being here. And we don't have very much heat, so I'd say it's perfect weather for this. The rain is not imminent based on the fact that there are no clouds. So it's really nice. It's really nice. And let's go over some big facts and some very substantial truths about where we stand as a country, because we're a failing nation because of the way it's been run for the last 3.5 years. We're a failing nation. People are coming into our country by the millions and millions and millions. We have no idea who they are or where they come from. But we're also a failing economy. Kamala Harris is a radical California liberal who broke the economy, broke the border, and broke the world, frankly. Very destructive to the entire world, because as we go, oftentimes the world goes. She destroys everything she touches, and if she wins, your finances and your country will never recover. You're never going to recover. A radical left person wants to put price controls all over the place, which will end up driving up your prices, not down your prices. Harris has just declared that tackling inflation will be a day one priority for her. It's going to be day one. But day one, really, for Kamala was 3.5 years ago. Where has she been? And why hasn't she done it? Why hasn't she done it? I hear her complaining all the time. She was the border czar, but she didn't do anything. It's the worst border czar in history. There's never been a border czar so bad. She's been unbelievable in terms of her badness to some of our allies, some of our great allies. You know who I'm talking about. Here is the record of economic calamity that Kamala is desperate for voters to ignore. She cast the tie-breaking votes that caused record inflation. She cast the votes. She's trying to blame Biden, as you know. So it was Biden, but I'm going to do a better job. But it was her. And if she wants to do a better job, she's still got 5 months left, right? But she can't do a better job because she doesn't know how to. And she's of a place in life where she wouldn't know what a better job is. Going to destroy our country. And as a result of Kamala's inflation price hikes, they've cost a typical household a total of $28,000. These are numbers coming from government. They're not coming from me. $28,000 she's cost a typical household. Kamala's inflation nightmare continues to cost the average American family $1,100 every single month. $1,100. Again, government numbers. You're paying $148 more a month on food. It's every month. Average family, because Kamala and her ideas, and Joe Biden too, I mentioned him, but he's sort of gonzo. It all started with the debate. I should have been a little bit easy. Somebody said, your debate performance was horrible. I said, why? Because you forced him out of government. But I believe she'll be just as bad. I believe she's maybe in many ways going to be worse, because he wasn't really a radical left, but she is. She's real. He wasn't real. So I think she's going to be, in many ways, easier to beat than Joe Biden. What they did to him was disgraceful, by the way, and it really is a threat to democracy. It was a coup by people that wanted him out, and they didn't do not the way they're supposed to do it. $129 more on energy and $241 more. This is all per month on rent. So you have that, $148, $129, $241, and then many other increases. You add it all up, it's thousands and thousands of dollars that she and he have cost people. The cost of a typical monthly mortgage has doubled since I left office, and that number was about 3 months old from government, and now it's tripled. We had mortgage rates at around 2%, close to 2%, and they're now at 10%, and you can't get a mortgage. So that means it's a lot higher than 10%. I guess it is whenever they want to give over the money, and that's a lot more than 10%. So when you think about double, they've actually quadrupled or more than that. Think of that, quadrupled, which really kills the American dream for young people. Young people are being devastated by what they've done to our country. Grocery prices have skyrocketed. Cereals are up 26%. Bread is up 24%. Butter is up 37%. Baby formula is up 30%. Flour is up 38%. And eggs are up 46%. And many items are up at much higher rates than that. Now Kamala is reportedly proposing communist price controls. She wants price controls. And if they worked, I'd go along with it too, but they don't work. They actually have the exact opposite impact and effect. But it leads to food shortages, rationing, hunger, dramatically more inflation. Their Inflation Reduction Act, by the way, was a disaster. It's what caused the inflation. Their Inflation Reduction Act was a con job. They actually admitted that it wasn't really for inflation that they did it. They don't know why they did it, but they named it the Inflation Reduction Act, which was a very nice name. Got approved based on that. Unfortunately, people didn't understand it. I understood it. I said that's going to cause tremendous inflation, and it did, among other things like energy. She's running on the Maduro plan. We call it the Maduro plan, like something straight out of Venezuela or the Soviet Union. This announcement is an admission that her economic policies have totally failed and caused really a catastrophe for our country, and beyond that, a catastrophe in the world. A little bit unrelated, but not totally unrelated. We have wars breaking out in the Middle East. We have the horrible war going on with Ukraine and Russia. All these things would have never happened if I was president. Would have never, ever happened. And they didn't happen. Since Harris took office, car insurance is up 55%, and they just announced it's going to be substantially higher than that within the next week. They expect big increases in car insurance. It's out of control, and insurance generally. Thanks to Kamala's war on American energy, electricity prices are up 32%. Gasoline prices are up 50% and going higher. Meanwhile, real incomes are down by over $2,000 a year. So the incomes for people are down $2,000 on average a year, government numbers. The typical American has seen a 4% pay cut under Kamala and Biden. Crooked Joe Biden. Credit card debt has exploded by 50% under Harris to a record high. It's now at a record high. Never been anywhere close. Since March, and by the way, people are going to have to start paying that, and it's not going to be a pretty sight for the next period of time. It could be a substantial time. Since March of 2022, the average middle-class household has lost $33,000 in wealth. How about that? $33,000. That's average. In July alone, 350,000 people were added to the unemployment rolls. It's a lot of people. 350,000 people added to the unemployment rolls. And think of that. That's in 1 month. That's in July. Virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants. You know that? Most of the job creation has gone to migrants. In fact, I've heard that substantially more than beyond the number of 100%. It's a much higher number than that, but the government hasn't caught up with that yet. But virtually right now, as of the time they did this, virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants. Harris gave work permits and Social Security numbers to more than 3 million illegal immigrants to steal jobs from Americans. So think of that. And, you know, they're having a lot of problems with Social Security. I'm going to be the one to save Social Security, but they're having a lot of problems with Social Security because under their system of putting all of these people into it, it's going to blow up and fail. If she's elected, Social Security will fail. It'll be a blow up like you've never seen before. It'll be a bankruptcy of the entire system, probably the nation itself. You don't have to imagine what a Kamala Harris presidency would be, because you're living through that nightmare right now, and it is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And you're going to stop inflation, but we're going to have a crash, and we're going to have a crash like a 1929 crash if she gets in. You saw a gentleman yesterday who got up, one of the top analysts in the world, frankly, and said that if Trump isn't elected, he predicts, and he's predicting you have a stock market crash like 1929. He also said the only time and the only reason the stock market has gone up, even though it had some bad moments recently, but I think we'll take a substantial lead. You saw the polls come out today. We're leading in most of the polls, but you'll have I have a lot of friends over there. So I don't think they're reporters, however, are they? This was supposed to be for reporters. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. When I left office, I handed Kamala and crooked Joe Biden a surging economy with no inflation. The 30-year mortgage rate was around 2%. gasoline had reached $1.87 a gallon. We actually had many months where it was lower than that, but we hit 187, which was a perfect place, an absolutely beautiful number. Real income surged by more than $4,200 a year when I was president. Harris and Biden blew it all up. And if Kamala wins the election, the worst is yet to come. You'll have a real problem in the future because people don't respect her in the world. People don't respect her in the economy. Economists are laughing. They can't even believe this is happening to our country. And she wants to change a free enterprise type country into a communist type country. That's what she knows. She's considered far more radical than Bernie Sanders. That's all you have to know. Far more radical. And
well, the former president, is continuing to give sort of his opening comments, and he's talking about economic numbers and how they have deteriorated since the time that Joe Biden raised his hand and took the oath of office, and that Kamala Harris clearly a part of everything that happened during the Biden years. Now, if past his prologue, what we can expect is he'll continue this for a little while, and then he will take questions. It may take a little while for him to get to the questions, but in the meantime, what we're going to do is take a break at 52 minutes past the hour, and hopefully when we get to the question and answer period, we'll drop back in and hear some more of this. It is 3:52 on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Well, at least one VP candidate debate is on the books. Could there be more? Lower costs for some drugs with Medicare is on the way, and another drowning on a Tennessee waterway. We'll have those stories at 4 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So Trump is still talking, reading from his briefing book there, and getting ready to take questions. We'll go back to it after the news here in a bit. By then, he should be to the question and answer session. Let's look at the markets. Dow Jones Industrials up 554 points. S&P up 88. The Nasdaq is up 401 points. That's about 2.33%. So really green numbers today. What's going on? Let's check in with Ty Draper over at Beacon Capital Management for more on that. Good afternoon, Ty.
Yeah, hey, Brian. Well, the comeback rally gained more steam as all four major indexes were deep in the green today. Building on yesterday's CPI report, retail sales grew by 1% in July, and that blasted analyst investments of 0.3%. And then in other good news, initial unemployment data decreased by 7,000, coming in lower than the 235 estimates for the week. This solid data flies in the face of reports calling for the collapse of consumer spending due to the recent high inflation. Well, will this data cause the Fed to rethink its September rate cut? Who knows? But maybe investors should just do a Steve Miller and take the money and run.
All right. Thank you very much, Ty Draper. Listen, find out all the things that the folks at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement. Just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 59 minutes past the hour.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good afternoon. It is 1 minute past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny and 94 degrees. A forecast and a traffic report. They're coming up. The Harris and Trump campaigns, they've agreed to a date for a vice presidential debate. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has details.
The one VP debate that both sides have agreed to is October 1st on CBS. Republican J.D. Vance says there should be another face-off between him and Democrat Tim Walz in mid-September on CNN. But the Harris campaign says no, that it agreed only to 2 presidential debates and 1 vice presidential debate. As a Harris spokesman puts it, the debate over debates is now over.
Well, in an announcement today by President Biden and Vice President Harris, the cost of 10 drugs for Americans on Medicare are going to be coming down. Harris laying out the problem and what she deems to be the solution.
Medicare was prohibited by law from negotiating lower drug prices. And those costs then got passed on to our seniors. But not anymore.
The plan is scheduled to take effect January of 2026. We now move out to Los Angeles, where there were arrests today in the death of Friends star Matthew Perry. A ketamine ring in Los Angeles busted in connection with that case. We now hear from Jason Nathanson.
Matthew Perry died of an accidental ketamine overdose last October, and since then, federal authorities have been looking into where the drugs came from. Thursday, 5 people were charged and 2 arrested, a doctor named Salvador Placencia and a woman known as the Ketamine Queen of Los Angeles.
These defendants took advantage of Mr. Perry's addiction issues to enrich themselves.
U.S. Attorney Martina Estrada says they supplied Perry with dozens of vials of ketamine in just a few short weeks, charging $55,000 for a couple $100 worth of drugs. Perry's live-in assistant was also charged for getting the drugs and shooting him up.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, good afternoon. Hour number 2 of The Drive kicking off here at 4:07. We got all kinds of stuff going on right now today. And most notably, we are monitoring what is supposed to be a press conference out of Bedminster, New Jersey, where Trump has been talking about the economy. And that was supposed to be the major topic today. He does not have a teleprompter. But he does have a briefing book on the podium, and he's referring to the briefing book for the most part, going back and forth as he traditionally does, talking about the things that are in the briefing book that have been prepared for him, the factual information, and then riffing. He's got in this apparently in this area, there are a bunch of reporters, but also off to the left side, some supporters, not reporters, but supporters. And he seems to be very interested in talking to them. And he's still going through the briefing book and talking about things. Surrounding him, though, an interesting backdrop is a bunch of food. I mean, he's got coffee, he's got cereal, he's got Jimmy Dean sausage, and all kinds of things that are it's supposed to talk about, the economy and the cost of living for average people. It's an interesting little sort of tableau that they've set up there to talk about that. But again, he's still going through the briefing book. Let's go in and listen a little bit more. And what we really want to know is what the questions are going to be. We haven't gotten to that point just yet.
I remember when just a short while ago, Kerry goes, hops in his private plane, flies to China to talk about the energy prices and the energy situation in China with President Xi, who I know very well. Had a very good relationship until COVID came in, but that was a fence too far. But we had a great relationship, and Kerry would go up there and he'd leave so happy. But they don't do anything. They just talk. They said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do that. Oh, as soon as we get to it." In the meantime, they're building a coal plant every week, but now I hear it's 2 coal plants a week, and we're dying for energy. We don't have energy, and they're getting set for the AI because they're going to create so much electricity, and we're not going to be able to do it. But you'll do it if I have it, because that's an emergency. We have to be able to compete with China and other countries that are able to create new energy if they want to, and they're going to want to, and they do want to. But they're building at least 1 coal plant a week. Germany, as you know, went a little bit like us, and that was the end of Angela because their whole economy crashed, and their new government is building coal plants all over the place. They're building brand new coal plants, nuclear plants, and other things because Germany was going to fail. So why are we following these countries that tried it and failed? And they're smart countries. They tried it, they failed. Why are we doing this? Why aren't we creating great energy plants, great sources of energy, instead of playing this game with wind that is ruining everything, killing all your birds, destroying the fields, all these gorgeous fields. You got windmills all over the place, and you have birds. You want to see a bird cemetery? Just go under a windmill. You see thousands of birds dead. The bald eagle, if you kill an eagle, they put you in jail for years. And yet these windmills knock them out like nothing. And nothing happens to the people. No, it's a green scam. It's a shame. Look, I'm all for clean energy. I want clean water. I want clean air. But you can't destroy your country over it. You just can't do that. We want to stop wasteful spending and big government special interest giveaways. You have giveaways. You have some of these people that are giving. Look, they're not giving millions and millions of dollars to politicians because they like their policy. They're giving it because they made deals. They're going to take over lots of different things in our country. They're going to build windmills as an example. They're going to build big solar fields that take up half the desert, massive solar fields. And I'm a big fan of solar, but it can't fire our plants. It's not going to fire our plants. Fire up those plants. We got to get them going. And the only thing that can do that is fossil fuel right now. And the only thing that can make electricity, which we all want, is right now fossil fuel and nuclear. And nuclear has its place, a very big place in our country, very big place. China is going with nuclear. France has been going with nuclear for many years. We want to end the Biden-Harris electrical vehicle mandate. We have to get rid of the electric vehicle mandate. And look, Elon endorsed me strongly, most powerful endorsement. He said it 3 or 4 times the other night during our little chat, but a chat that was very well listened to and attended. We know that, right? It broke every single record, I think, in history. And he's a great guy. But I told him, I said, I have one problem. I'm all for the electric car, but it's a very small percentage. I think the electric car is incredible. I think what you've done is incredible. But some people are going to want gasoline-propelled cars. They're going to want hybrids. They're going to want other types of cars. And Elon, they're going to have to do that. And he understands that fully. And I think he was amazed by this electric vehicle mandate. They want it for trucks, too. If you do it for trucks, you're not going to have any. You talk about a supply chain problem. A truck going from New York to Los Angeles, if it's electric, will have to stop 6 times for long periods of time. If you have diesel fuel, it goes all the way, and you can even come a piece of the way back before you have to reload. And with diesel, the truck gets lighter because you're using up the fuel. With the electric, it stays at a heavy weight. An electric truck is 2.5 times heavier than what we would call our traditional trucks. And a man from a company said to me, sir, I've been buying trucks. For 50 years, I've been buying them, and every single year they got better and bigger and stronger and more powerful and more efficient, more fuel efficient. And now we build apartments in the truck, sir, and you would be proud to stay in those apartments. And then I say, I don't know if I would. But I know exactly what he meant. Those big, he said, it's incredible, the trucks. I said, who builds the best truck? He didn't tell me. He said, they all do. You have 4 companies, 5 companies. They all do, sir. They build great ones. He said, but for 50 years, they got better. Every year, I started off with 1 truck. I said, how many trucks do you have now? 27,000. I said, 27,000, and all big ones. He's the biggest. This is the biggest. He said, for 50 years, I've been buying, and every single year, they got better, more efficient, stronger. He said, if they make us buy electric trucks, we will go back 70 years because the truck is worse than the one we had 50 years ago. And he said, I won't partake in it. They want the truckers, the trucking industry to do that. One other thing, the truck is heavier and the battery is much larger than the tanks. And the battery would take up about half of the payload. Think of that. But just as importantly, the battery and all that goes into electric is much heavier. The truck it weighs 2.5 times more than a normal truck fired up by diesel. And he said, if that's the case, sir, you would have to rebuild every single bridge and road in America because the weight is so enormous. It wouldn't be able to go on the bridges and all of the different weight-bearing roads in America. I said, did you explain this to the people? I mean, a 5-year-old child, if he was hearing these things, it doesn't go far. It takes too much room. You don't have any room left for anything. It's almost the whole thing would be carrying a battery. Does anybody explain this to these people? We do explain it. They know it very well. At the end of the meeting, they say, we don't care. Just start making your electric truck. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it, he said. So we're going to repeal all that. We're going to repeal Kamala's regulatory onslaught, saving households an estimated $5,000 a year at a minimum. The massive tax cuts and no tax on tips. We're going to make sure it gets done. She's not going to get it done. She didn't hear about it until I said it, and then she went out and she went and did it. And the other thing, no tax on Social Security. We're not going to have seniors who have been decimated by inflation pay tax on Social Security, and we'll get through it through growth. We have tremendous growth potential in this country, but not with these people running it, because all they're going to do is take away, and they want to take away your growth and your growth potential. Again, I say it all the time, we're a nation in decline. We're a failing nation. Right now, we're a failing nation, and we're going to soon be a great nation again. That's going to happen. Another thing we're going to do, having to do with a lot of reasons, a lot of things, and the economy in particular, we're going to seal the border. We're going to stop the invasion. We're going to send the illegal aliens back home. We're going to bring down the cost of health care and housing. We're going to make sure that Social Security is not going to be increased in terms of years where people have to wait much longer. I mean, we have an obligation to take care of these people. And just so you know, I didn't do it in 4 years. I never even thought about doing it in 4 years. And they probably don't want to do it, but they're going to have no choice. They're going to have no choice, because a lot of the people that are coming in are being signed into Medicare. They're being signed into Social Security. And it's just going to explode. And it's going to happen very fast, and it's going to be very ugly. It's not going to happen with us. We're going to open up tracts of federal land for housing construction. We desperately need housing for people who can't afford what's going on now. And when we open it up and we take off some of the restrictions and regulations, you know, in California, 50% the cost of a house is regulations. They have to adhere to regulations that bring the cost of the house up by 50%. We're going to bring back our supply chains to stop costly supply chain disruptions. We have tremendous disruptions. I have it all the time, and I think you do too. We order things, and I keep saying, well, when's it getting here? Sir, there's a supply chain disruption. And I mean, you end up getting stuff like 3 months late now. I don't know, all these geniuses over here, I think we can say that. I'm not sure that you're necessarily as much into it, but they are. And I will say that very often, we have problems with supply chains where I'm waiting for things for weeks and weeks. And I say, by the way, whatever happened to it? Supply chain, sir, it's not coming in. And it's a terrible thing. Nobody ever thought a thing like that would happen to our country. We're going to restore peace and stability all throughout the world. And you all know Viktor Orban. He's the Prime Minister of Hungary and a very tough man. He's a good man, but he's a tough man. And they asked him, what do we need to stop all of the wars with Israel? What do we need to stop the wars in Russia and Ukraine and all the other wars that are starting? He said, when President Trump was here, we had no wars. We didn't have Russia lining up at the borders to go and attack Ukraine. We would have never had Hamas because Hamas had no money, because Iran had no money. I said to China and everybody else, if you buy from Iran, you can't do business in the United States. And I'm not looking to be bad to Iran. We're going to be friendly, I hope, with Iran. Maybe, but maybe not. But we're going to be friendly, I hope. We're going to be friendly, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And we were all set to make sure that they don't have a nuclear weapon, because once they do, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different negotiation. But Viktor Orban said, if you put Trump in, nothing's going to happen. Everyone's going to be peaceful, because they were afraid of Trump. Now, I don't like saying that I said that. I would say maybe they respected Trump. But he said they were afraid of Trump. They didn't know where he was coming from, and they were really afraid of him. They're not afraid of these people. And being afraid isn't so bad, but I would say more importantly, they respected me. But he didn't use that word. He said they were afraid of Trump. And we would have not had any problems with China and Taiwan. We wouldn't have had any problems with Ukraine and Russia. We wouldn't have any problems with anything. But we will stop inflation. We will make America affordable again. And we're going to bring back the American dream. We have all these young people that are coming out of schools, colleges, everything else. And
it sounds like he's about to wrap up the 1 hour and 15 minutes of opening remarks that he has made. And we will take a break here. And hopefully when we come back, the president will be taking a few questions. It is 21 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock. Here's a question for you. What was it like the last time you were at an auto repair shop? Was it stinky, smelly, greasy, old rags lying around and a filthy countertop that you didn't want to touch? I'll tell you something else that stinks. It's the repair shops that keep your car forever. They're not honest, and they don't call you back when they say they will. If that was your last experience at a vehicle repair shop, well, you ought to check out Eurofix. Eurofix takes the stink out of European auto repair. And at Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit, no high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment, and never pay dealer prices. Eurofix is now located in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and Mount Juliet. Call 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com, and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
More arrests made in the overdose death of a Hollywood favorite, and a popular game show host has passed away. We'll have those stories and today's money news. That's all happening at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 25 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Donald Trump coming live to you from Bedminster, New Jersey, where it was supposed to be a press conference, but the opening comments have run well more than an hour. And he's now talking about some of the things that are presented there as sort of a tableau to support what were supposed to be comments about the economy. And he seems to be sort of wrapping up. And again, it's supposed to be a press conference, but not one question has yet been asked. So let's listen a little longer and see if we can get some of what he has to say. The president, former president from Bedminster, New Jersey.
Liberal version. She's not smart. I don't believe she loves our country. And we cannot have our country destroyed, because once that happens, it'll never be able to come back. Okay? If you'd like, we can ask a few
President, it's been reported that you recently spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu, maybe as recently as yesterday. Can you clarify when the last time was you talked to him, and what advice, if any, you're giving him about a ceasefire, about ending this war?
The last time I saw him was at Mar-a-Lago, and he came with his wife and a large group of people. And we had a very good relationship with him and with Israel. Again, this would never have happened. October 7th would have never happened, would have never, ever happened. And he asked for the meeting. We had the meeting. It was about 2.5 hours long. And I expect I might be talking to him, but I haven't since then. No.
Did you encourage him not to take a ceasefire deal? Did you give him any advice about ending the war?
Him. He knows what he's doing. I did encourage him to get this over with. You want to get it over with. It has to get over with fast. But have victory, get your victory, and get it over with. It has to stop. The killing has to stop. Yes, please.
Mr. President.
Thank you, President Trump. You've spoken very passionately about how God saved your life. And I'm wondering, have you put much thought into why God saved your life? As in, for what purpose has he been shielding and protecting you?
So, I don't know if you heard the question. You've spoken about God saving your life. That I've spoken passionately about it. And something happened, because that was a miracle. I never looked that way. The audience was massive, and it was in front of me. I never have that particular graph. That was a graph on, as you all know now, that it's very, I think everyone knows it very well, but it showed the great numbers on illegal immigration. It was the lowest point we've ever had. And it was one that I use less than 20% of the time. It's always at the end of the speech, not at the beginning of the speech. And it's always on the left side, not the right side. And yet, for some reason, I called it. It's not on a teleprompter. I do things largely without a teleprompter, frankly, because it's hard to hold an audience if you're going to go for an hour and a half or 2 hours reading a script. And I just talked about it, and I moved to my right, turned sharply to my right, ping. And if I didn't do that, I'm not here with you. So, yeah, God has something to do with it. It's a miracle, and God had something to do with it. And maybe it's we want to save the world. This world is going down. This world is going down. So it could be. But I believe that. I believe that my sons are very good shooters. They're like scratch golfers, better, relatively speaking, with shooters, great shooters. And Eric and Don both told me from 130 yards. I said, well, that's pretty far away, isn't it? They said, no, that's like a 1-foot putt with, weapons like the one being used. Plus, he was a good shooter. This guy was a good shooter. He went to the range and shot a lot, and he was supposed to be a pretty good shooter. They said a bad shooter would hit the target almost 100% of the time. So something happened. And I have to say the Secret Service sniper did an amazing job. He had 5 seconds to find the target and hit the target, and he hit the target within, think of this, 5 seconds. And he was much further away because he was over here, and this other person was over there. So you have to give credit. And I have to also say about the Secret Service, when I was hit, I knew it because when I touched, there was blood pouring all over my hand. I said, I guess I know what that is. And I was going down for protection. And they were screaming, get down, get down. There was bullets. And those Secret Service guys were, and person, Kate, they were on top of me in a matter of, I think, 3 seconds. It was time dead. and bullets were coming at it. I would hear the bullet. I didn't realize you could hear it, but now I know very well. Those bullets were going right over my head. They were there and very brave. There was nobody that said, I'm not going to be going there. They just, they were there very quickly, and they were very brave. There were mistakes made, obviously. He shouldn't have been up there. The roof should have been taken care of, and there were mistakes made. There's no question about it. But there was a lot of bravery also. We have to remember that. Okay, thank you very much.
Brian, thank you. I want to talk about credit card debt for just a second. You've got all these items.
A record.
It's a record.
Credit card.
48% up. And many families going into debt just to pay for groceries. Yeah. What's your message to Americans right now that you can make America affordable again?
Well, I would say my message to them. So he said, credit card debt is at the all-time high. It's never been like this. What's your message to America? How are we going to solve that, and what will they do? You know what I think they should do? They should, on November 5th or sooner, if it's early voting, which largely it is, which is ridiculous. We should have one-day voting, paper ballots. We should have voter ID, and we should have proof of citizenship, because people are voting and people are going on now without citizenship. But we should do it, and maybe we'll be able to get that done too. It's one of the things I want to do. But my message to them would be very simple. Vote for Trump, and we're going to fix the problem. We're going to get it fixed.
All right, we're going to take another break here and hit the news at the bottom of the hour, and then we'll continue to monitor what the former president is saying from Bedminster, New Jersey this afternoon. It is 32 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock.
"32 minutes past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Sunshine, 94 degrees, a forecast, and a traffic report are coming up. Arrests and federal charges now in the death of actor Matthew Perry, the Friends star, dying last October from a ketamine overdose. We have details on all this from ABC's Alex Stone, who's in Los Angeles.
We have known that this investigation had been underway for quite a while, a number of months. The LAPD, the DEA, the U.S. Postal Service involved, maybe that mail was involved to get the ketamine to Matthew Perry. But now, after many months of investigating, led by the DEA, now we know charges have been filed.
And a physician, by the way, is one of the people that's been charged. In sad news from L.A., Peter Marshall, the host of the game show The Hollywood Squares for 16 years, he has passed away. He died today, kidney failure, reportedly, at his home in Los Angeles. He was 98 years of age. Now we have today's closing money news with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News Wall Street, now stocks rallied on more signs that inflation is easing. The Dow jumped 573 points. The S&P rose 88, and the Nasdaq added 402 for the day. A robust report on retail sales fueled the markets. They were up 1% in July, the biggest gain in a year and a half, further easing worries that the economy may be weakening from higher prices and interest rates. Auto dealers, electronics and appliance stores, and grocery stores also reporting strong sales gains. We are still bargain hunting, though, and Walmart is benefiting from it. The nation's largest retailer is raising its full-year outlook after reporting better than expected earnings. The number of Americans who applied for unemployment benefits fell last week by 7,000 to 227,000. Starbucks incoming CEO Brian Nichols could make well over $100 million in his first year with the company, with a contract which is heavy on incentives.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
.39 past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We have dedicated a lot of our program here to listening to Donald Trump, who's holding a wide-ranging press conference. He did about an hour and 20 of opening comments, and then he started taking a few questions. Now, we are going to move on because we have some other news of the day we want to cover, but there was a few moments ago a question asked that sort of I've been asking the same question here on this program, and I wanted you to hear his answer to it. Here is Donald Trump just a few moments ago.
Mr. President, many of your allies who want you to win in November say your current strategy isn't working, that you need to stop with the personal attacks on Kamala Harris and deliver a more disciplined message. Do you agree? And also, you added more people to your campaign today. Yeah. Is that a sign of a shifting strategy?
No, I think it's a sign of we want to close it out. We have great people. Susie is fantastic, as you know, and Chris is fantastic. They're leading it. Corey Lewandowski's coming in. He'll be, personal envoy, or he'll be at some level. They're going to be, they're doing a great job. Look, we've taken, with all of the abuse we've taken from the fake news media, all of this horrific abuse we take, and all I want to do is make the country good. All I want to do is have strong borders and good education. We want to have choice for education. So important, so many different things. You would think it would be the other way. We rebuilt the military. We did so many great things. But that's the way it's been for Republicans, and I guess more so for me than anybody in history, and that's okay. Because we're leading in the polls. For the most part, we're leading in the polls. We were leading Biden by a lot. We're leading now, but I think when she's exposed, I think we're going to beat her by a lot more than we would have beaten Biden by, because he had a little group of people that have been voting for him for a long time. She doesn't have that. People don't know who she is. As far as the personal attacks, her because of what she's done to the country. I'm very angry at her that she'd weaponized the justice system against me and other people. Very angry at her. I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president. And I think it's very important that we win. And whether the personal attacks are good, bad, I mean, she certainly attacks me personally. She actually called me weird. He's weird. It was just a soundbite. And she called J.D. and I weird. He's not weird. He was a great student at Yale. He went to Ohio State, graduated in 2 years, at the top of his class, and all of these different things. And we have this guy that's running a very failed state, who's had a terrible career. I mean, you have him saying they're weird. No, he's a weird guy. And she's weird in her policy. Who wouldn't want to have strong borders? Who doesn't want to have lower taxes? You know, all my life I've watched as politicians campaigned, and I've always been on, for the most part, on the other side, on the side that these people are on. And they always talked about, we're going to reduce taxes. This is the only campaign I've ever heard where they're saying, we're going to increase your taxes. And then people say they're going to vote for him? I don't know. So I don't think so. I don't think people know who she is yet. Because really people didn't know. You can ask the man on the street. I saw it on one of the shows today. They asked the man on the street, what's the last name of Kamala? Nobody knew. It's Harris. Nobody knew the last name. I don't even use it because nobody knows who I'm talking about. People don't know who she is. She's a radical left socialist. But beyond that, I mean, she's way beyond socialism, who's going to destroy our country. And when they find out, I think you're going to see something. But right now, even not knowing her, and with all of the cover of Time magazine, they didn't put a picture. They got a great artist to do it. What was that all about? What was that all about? The whole thing is crazy. I just want to win for the country. Some people say, oh, why don't you be nice? But they're not nice to me. They want to put me in prison, just so you understand. They tell me I should be nice. They want to put me in prison. It's never happened before in the history of our country. I did nothing wrong. I have crooked judges. I have crooked prosecutors. And they're all Democrats, all Democrat areas, other than in Florida, where you had a brilliant judge who ruled in my favor. I won the case, the documents case, won it in its entirety. And Jack Smith, deranged Jack Smith, suffered a defeat. But in New York City, everything's clubhouse, everything. I know it very well. I grew up there. I know it very well. And we have a very crooked system. And it's one of the reasons that New York is dying. Nobody wants to come in. No companies want to come in because the courtroom system is so corrupt, both at a federal level and at a state level and a city level. And they put you into an area where you have 3% Republican vote. It's all a rigged deal, just like Fani, F-A-N-I, Fani, with her boyfriend. And I think that's been discredited, too. They've been discredited. But think of it. They don't want me to be a little bit nasty. They want to put me in prison. Me. They want to put. It's never happened before in the history of our country. It's happened in third world countries, but it's never happened here. And they're in danger because you create a precedent for doing that. And once that happens, that's a really bad thing. In the years before, and I've said this a few times, not too much, but with Hillary, she was subpoenaed by Congress to give everything she's got, and she burned it. She acid washed it, bleach bit they call it. She totally scrubbed it, and then they broke everything with hammers. with fire. They burned it. And then she said, I don't have anything. Well, it turned out that she had a lot to give. And everybody said, lock her up, lock her up. And I used to go easy, just easy, easy. Then we won. And I said, wouldn't it be terrible? And you know, I lose. Some people are upset when I did this, but you have to look at it maybe differently now. I say, wouldn't it be terrible to put the wife of the president, former president of the United States, into a prison? Now think of that. Hillary Clinton, she was Secretary of State. She was the wife of a president of the United States who used to be a friend of mine before I ran for politics. He was a friend of mine. He used to play my golf course all the time. I have a great golf course right next to their home in Westchester. He used to be there all the time. It was his favorite course. But you know what? I could have done that very easily. She was so guilty. And I said to my people, wouldn't it be terrible to put, I don't know, wouldn't it be terrible to take, and we won the election, wouldn't it be terrible to take a former Secretary of State who was the wife of the President of the United States and put her into a prison? But that's what they want to do with me, and I did nothing wrong. It's all crooked politics and really crooked judges. You know I have a gag order. Do you know I can't even talk about it right now? Do you know that I have a judge who has a gag order? He doesn't want me to talk, and the reason he doesn't want me to talk is because what I say is so devastating and so horrible for him. But think of it, I have a gag order. There's never been a politician in history, I mean, probably for any politician for a city council office. I'm the leading candidate to be president. I won virtually unanimously, and I beat everybody. It was the quickest primary in history. There's never been one that was done so early. I had people that were very talented people, and I beat them by 45, 50, 60, 70, 80 points. There was never a close race. Nobody was even close. Good talent. They weren't close. And I'm running against the Democrats. So it's a two-party system, whether we like it or not. Republican, I'm the Republican, and I'm leading. But let's say I'm tied, but I'm leading. I believe I'm leading by a lot more than people think, and I believe we'll be leading by a lot more. And I have a judge who put a gag order on me. So when you ask me a question, or when you ask me a question, I can't give you an answer, because if I give the answer, they want to put you in jail. He said, we'll put him in jail if he talks beyond the gag order. And this is in a state where, unfortunately, the laws have been very bad, and they haven't been upheld by the appellate divisions generally. Although I have one case where we a certain judge, I won't use names, but the Attorney General case where we won 5 appeals on the same case, the most ever trial. It was a ridiculous, horrible decision where you have a very, very biased voting population and a judge whose hatred of Donald Trump was beyond belief. And we won the case, but he ruled a ridiculous amount of money, civil case, ruled ridiculous. Now, this is what they're doing is interference with an election. They want to interfere. Look at the one thing, they want a sentence right before the election takes place. Let's sentence him, because who's going to vote for him if we sentence him? Let's sentence him right before. No, this is interference with a presidential election at a state level. And it's a state that always goes Democrat. It's interference. And as you know, the Supreme Court ruled recently on immunity, and I'm immune from all of this stuff that they charged me with. But isn't it a terrible thing? And yet Hillary Clinton, when it came time to make a decision, I said, I don't want to put the wife of the President of the United States in prison. I want the country to come together and to be unified. And here it is a few years later, and these people say, let's put him, why? Because I challenge an election? Because I want to challenge an election, or some other reason? It's a really disgraceful thing. It's a shame. And it's a very dangerous thing for both parties, because once they start that ball rolling, once they started rolling, that's a nasty ball. Yes, please.
Well, there's the president. He's been wide-ranging today. That we're now about more than 2 hours into his press conference, which started with about an hour and 20 minutes of opening comments, and then questions and answers. And you've heard a pretty good amount of it. We're gonna stop our coverage there because there's a lot of other news we need to get in the next couple of hours. Right now, it is 50 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You know, as much as we like it, there are no pills or magic creams that can open up your spinal disc and take pressure off your nerves. Really, it's not the way it works. Back pain is pressure on your nerves. And you have a couple of choices in that regard. One is surgery. The other is non-invasive, non-surgical spinal decompression. Now, I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville on my neck and lower back, and it has really helped me. They have a state-of-the-art facility there and the latest high-tech equipment that offers cutting-edge non-surgical procedures. Because getting better is important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they are offering half off spinal decompression treatments and half off the KT knee machine. That's right, half off. KT knee machine, sort of like spinal decompression for the knee. If you're a new patient, you get an exam, an x-ray if you need one. You'll get a consultation. They'll come up with a plan and you'll get your first treatment, and that will only cost you $23. Then, going forward, half off of the non-surgical procedures. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Lower costs on the horizon for certain drugs for those on Medicare. A VP debate is now on the books, and a Nashville man who was the victim in one crime has now been booked as the perpetrator in another one. We'll have those stories at 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, we'll call it 57 minutes now past the hour. Coming up in the next hour, we will get into some other news that we have put aside to hear President Trump completely. He's still going. One thing you could say about Trump is that he's not afraid to get out there and mix it up with the media and take questions and answer questions. You certainly cannot say that about the other side. Kamala continues to run and hide, and Trump is anything but out there and transparent. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let me tell you about Genesis Diamonds. They have a most extreme value on diamond engagement rings now. They have a big deal going on now, about to come to an end, but you have until Sunday at 5 o'clock to get the price of a lifetime on a GIA certified diamond ring. Now, the response to this has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price. We're talking about values you never thought possible. Half-carat diamonds all the way up to 20-carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world. Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping right alongside you. Rounds, radiants, pear shapes, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond ring selection you've ever seen. And now through Sunday at 5, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please. Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See the store for details.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good afternoon. It is 1 minute past 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Still plenty of sunshine and still rather toasty at 94 degrees. A forecast and a traffic report are coming up. An announcement today by President Biden and Vice President Harris, the lowering of costs of 10 prescription drugs for Americans on Medicare. The move includes medications treating heart failure, arthritis, diabetes, and other diseases. We hear more on the subject from ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
What the White House is saying is that this is going to save patients about $1.5 billion in out-of-pocket costs for some of those drugs. And it's actually going to save the federal government more than that, $6 billion in 1 year, they estimate, because they would be able to pay lower prices. And this is going to apply to a big array of drugs. The White House says drugs that are commonly used to treat heart failure, blood clots, diabetes, arthritis.
The plan is scheduled to take effect in January of 2026. The Harris and Trump campaigns, they've agreed to a debate for a vice president, or a date, rather, for a debate. ABC's Stephen Portnoy, he tells us about that.
The one VP debate that both sides have agreed to is October 1st on CBS. Republican J.D. Vance says there should be another face-off between him and Democrat Tim Walz in mid-September on CNN. But the Harris campaign says no, that it agreed only to 2 presidential debates and 1 vice presidential debate. As a Harris spokesman puts it, the debate over debates is now over.
5 people are facing charges in last year's ketamine death of Friends actor Matthew Perry. He overdosed on drugs the prosecutors say were supplied to him by a drug network. Alex Stone's in Los Angeles. He tells us about it.
Prosecutors here in L.A. allege 2 doctors and a drug dealing network were using Matthew Perry to make money, that Perry was willing to spend huge amounts of money to fuel his addiction to ketamine, and they were willing to sell him however much he wanted to make money. U.S. Attorney Martina Estrada.
These defendants took advantage of Mr. Perry's addiction issues to enrich themselves.
On the day Perry died, his assistant allegedly injected him with 3 large doses of ketamine.
And finally, a man hospitalized here in Nashville after being shot in the leg last night. He's now behind bars for an unrelated armed robbery. Metro Police say that Samuel Giddens, 26, was driven to the hospital after being shot in the leg once. When police got to the hospital, he provided a fake name and date of birth. But during his hospital visit, the cops figured out what was going on, and Giddens was found to be a convicted felon with outstanding aggravated and robbery warrants. Giddens later booked on his outstanding warrants in charge with a number of charges. He remains jailed now on $155,000 bond. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number 1, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number 2, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour, 5 o'clock. Hour number 3 of The Drive now getting underway. Been an interesting show. We've been largely listening over the course of most of this show today to Donald Trump, who came to us from Bedminster, New Jersey. He got a golf club there and held a press conference comparing and contrasting, against a vice president who is out on the campaign trail but won't take any questions from the media. He took, he did about an hour of open, a little more than an hour, and took questions for about another hour. He went about 2 hours and 30 minutes, and it's now...
Actually, just to correct the math, Brian, because I want to make sure it's right. He started at about 3:45. 3:45. He only did about an hour and a half total.
Total.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. One way or the other, I need you to correct me in my math.
Wanted to make sure we got that.
But better part of 2 hours. Let's put it that way. And so there you have that. But definitely answering questions from the press corps during that time. And so we continue to. He's now finished up. He's signing some autographs and has moved on. Reporters have now had a chance to query the former president when they don't have the chance to query Kamala Harris. I think we'll start this hour with some other 2024 news that we just haven't had a chance to get to because of the breaking news. We'll call it our 2024 update. Isn't it interesting? I think this is fascinating, pointed out by thefederalist.com, how the media love Trump's ideas when they come from Kamala Harris. I mean, honestly, it's a fair point. It really is. This is pretty good stuff. The only policy plank we really know about the glossy reintroduction of Kamala Harris is that she now supports one of Donald Trump's marquee policies. Last weekend, the incumbent vice president tried to pass off Trump's plan to eliminate taxes on tips as her own. When I am president, we will continue to fight for our working families in America, including to raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. That sudden campaign promise follows months on the presumptive presidential nominee avoiding interviews while flipping on nearly every issue on her platform, from banning of fracking to passing Medicare for all. Yet the press has given Harris a free pass less than 3 months from election days and just months away from the first votes being cast in Pennsylvania, as the far-left candidate campaigns without any kind of comprehensive policy platform. When it comes to taxes on tips, however, Harris gave her position, and the episode offered another case study in media bias, covering two identical positions from two very different candidates. Pay attention to this. When former President Trump declared his crusade to eliminate taxes on tips earlier this summer, the headline from CBS News read, "Trump proposal to exempt tips from taxes could cost $250 billion." But when Harris offered her endorsement for the effort, CBS headline said, Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. Couldn't be more different, right? The headlines? And that's not the only example of it, but it's a pretty egregious example of how, Trump comes out with something and the media looks at it askance. They look at it critically. And when she comes out with the same thing, the same very thing, well, it couldn't be more glowing. Couldn't be more glowing. We haven't launched it in a while. Time to launch our Wayback Machine to find out what it has found. The Wayback Machine, we developed this so that it goes out and it finds the things that Kamala Harris is saying in the past that's very different from what she's saying today. So we launched the machine. Stand back. Here we go.
We're going back in time. Back in time. I remember it as if it were yesterday.
The smoke. It's in the zapping. It's scary when that thing gets launched.
Need to add some fans maybe to that.
Maybe so. Clear the room here. It's really quite something. Here's the thing. Kamala has said some things about immigration. in the past. Here's from townhall.com. Kamala Harris is getting tougher on immigration. Her campaign staffers have told reporters who dutifully scribble corresponding headlines she's running ads defending her failed record on illegal immigration and border security as border czar. In reality, she absolutely has been Joe Biden's border czar since 2021, and she presided over approximately 10 million illegal border crossings. But, she says things now. Oh, I'm going to get tough. I'll close illegal immigrant detention centers on one day. I'm going to get really, really tough. But the Wayback Machine has found that she says very different things. Like, for example, she was very much in favor. We've got this well documented. Kamala Harris was very much in favor of universal health care for people who come to this country illegally. Here's what the Wayback Machine found.
If you'd be so kind, raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross a border without documentation. Can we keep the hands up so we could see them?
Well, among the people at that the Democrat debate who raised their hand was Kamala Harris. She's very much in favor of that. And again,
raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
And again, Kamala Harris raises her hand.
So you support giving universal health care, Medicare for all, to people who are in this country illegally?
Let me just be very clear about this. I am opposed to any policy that would deny in our country any human being from access to public safety, public education, or public health, period.
Period. Now, not only is she now saying that she won't give illegal immigrants universal health care, she's also saying that she's against the idea for Americans as well. She was for it. She was right out there with Bernie Sanders. She actually was a co-sponsor of Bernie Sanders' legislation to nationalize health care. But now she denies that she holds that position, the Wayback Machine has found. And don't forget what she said about ICE and the people at ICE. First she said, well, she thinks it's sort of like the KKK, and she thinks ICE needs to be disbanded.
Listen, I think there's no question that we've got to critically re-examine ICE and its role and the way that it is being administered and the work it is doing. And we need to probably think about starting from scratch because there's a lot that is wrong with the way that it's conducting itself, and we need to deal with that.
Need to deal with that. Now, of course, she has a very different opinion about all of that. You won't hear her saying things like that on the campaign trail anymore. You don't hear her saying much on the campaign trail at all, actually. Certainly not taking any questions. CNN admits that the Tim Walz campaign has lied about his drunk driving arrest numerous times. Even CNN, a report from CNN acknowledges that Kamala Harris's VP pick, Governor Tim Walz, repeatedly lied about his 1995 drunk driving arrest during his run for Congress. It turns out Walz was pulled over because he lived in Nebraska at the time by a Nebraska trooper for going 96 miles an hour in a 50-mile-an-hour zone. After the officer smelled alcohol on Walz's breath, Walz took a field sobriety test and a blood alcohol test and failed both. Walz spent the night behind bars and later admitted that he was driving drunk, court records show. While running for Congress, however, Walz's campaign repeatedly claimed that the Democrat had not been drinking but was pulled over and failed the field sobriety test because of an alleged hearing loss he suffered from his time serving in the National Guard. And as CNN report has put it, none of it is true. Well, I'm glad that you can admit that, CNN. The report chronicled the lies from the campaign, which was echoed in numerous media reports. A local newspaper called the New Elm Journal, for example, reported the following. According to Walz's campaign staff, Walz denies being drunk the night of the incident. He failed a sobriety test. He failed a blood alcohol test. He was drunk. Walz, they say, was hard of hearing, a result of his years as an artillery soldier in the Army National Guard. He had trouble hearing the trooper, according to Meredith Salisbury, communications director for the Walz campaign. That's what they said back in the day. He lied about it to become a member of Congress. By the way, I covered Congress during some of this time that Walz was there. I have zero memory of Tim Walz. I don't think I ever heard him do anything that was memorable. I don't think I ever remember him holding a prominent news conference. I don't remember him being the sponsor of a major piece of legislation. To me, I don't even have any recollection of anyone named Tim Walz. And I covered the House and the Senate for a lot of years, and some of them he was there. He was a nothing. He was a nothing burger in Congress. I can tell you that for sure. Harris and Trump, here's one thing that I need to sort of point out to us, is we wonder how the campaign is going. And the campaign is what you see the candidates say, and we would cover that a lot here on this program. What did Harris say today? What did Trump say today? We just spent, a better part of an hour and a half playing out some of that stuff. And so there you have that. But the rest of the campaign is, what kind of ads are running. Now, here's the thing. You're not going to see these ads here in Tennessee. He doesn't need to spend his money in Tennessee. He knows that Tennessee is going to be a good state for him. It's a red state. We're overwhelmingly going to go for Trump. Everybody knows that. Certainly I'm going to vote for him. You're going to vote for him. And a lot of the friends are going to vote for him. And Trump will win Tennessee handily. So they don't spend their money here. But they're spending a lot of money in some of the battleground states. And where are they spending the most? Pennsylvania right now. If you live in Pennsylvania and watch TV, avoiding political advertising is nearly impossible. Spouts touting, but more often denouncing Donald Trump and Harris appeared at all hours from Good Morning America to The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Even if you were awake at 3 a.m. watching the Paris Olympics, you might have seen an ad from one of the super political action committees supporting the candidates. The totals? About $192 million nationwide, including ads primarily running on broadcast TV, cable, radio, and satellite. Campaigns also spend heavily on less expensive digital ads that run on social media, streaming platforms, and apps, but those often lead toward simple fundraising pleas. And more is coming. MAGA Incorporated, the top super PAC backing Trump, just announced plans to spend $100 million, on ads in swing states through Labor Day. That was followed by Harris's campaign saying it was launching a $90 million advertising buy for the rest of August. Campaigns easily target morning and evening news slots, outranking all other kinds of programming types. I mean, Pennsylvania, they are getting this like you cannot believe. We're not going to see it. And so, you may have a sort of a skewed sense of what the campaigns are doing, and I think that's fair. The Pennsylvania ad blitz serves, the Wall Street Journal writes, as a microcosm for what other swing states have seen and will continue to see much more of as Election Day nears. They're spending a ton, both sides spending a ton of advertising dollars in these battleground states that are so tight. I don't know if you mentioned it, if I missed it, but at the top of the show, I did talk about the one thing that I'm really not going to be talking about for a while, and I'm going to give it a rest, and I'll tell you why. The numbers. You say, well, Wilson, you're all about the polls. Yeah, I mean, I love digging through the polls and looking at the internals of the polls and reading them and trying to find out what the trend is. And as I've said in recent days, the trend is the numbers have been tightening. I think the reason I don't see that there's a lot of use in doing it for a while is that the polls right now are TC, too close to call. And I think that, when you have like today, for example, I'm just give you a couple of things. Fox News came out, Trump is up by 2. Another poll came out and said that Harris is up by 4. A third poll came in and said that Trump is up by 4. All of that is within the margin of error. Now, Trump was pulling away, and now things have tightened. But just here's what I will say. Polls are too close to call. It is a 50-50 nation, and right now it would seem that the populace is more divided up the middle than it's been in a while. It was looking good for Trump when he was facing Biden. Things have tightened. You heard Trump a few moments ago saying he thinks that will all change when we start to lay out her positions. I think, I'm going to just say this, August is going to be a pretty rough month for Trump because, right now the numbers have tightened. If you want to say somebody's got momentum, maybe Harris has a little momentum. Now, whether that that last. Depends on a lot of things. But next week, it's a big commercial. You know, just like the Republicans had their convention and Trump got a little bump coming out of the convention, Harris is about to hold her convention next week, and it'll be a lot of glowing stuff, and she'll get a little bump out of that. So I'm going to say that by the end of August, that ought to be the high watermark for Harris. Then we head into, September and October. I don't think that the old thing about an October surprise is something that we should spend a lot of time thinking about right now, because you know why? Voting is already underway in October. In fact, we're only about 30 days away from some of the first voting starting to take place. So, having an October surprise means you change the outcome in the last few days just before people go to the voting booths in November, on November 5th. But Democrats are going to vote early. Republicans, I'm hoping that they've done their groundwork and they're ready to do, they say they've been working on it, are also going to be voting early. So a lot of that will all be, sort of already cooked. So an October surprise doesn't help you much, like it did back in the day when most everybody voted on Election Day. 24 minutes now past the hour. T. King & Associates Insurance in Brentwood has been around for some 25 years as an independent agency. And yeah, that's what you want. You want an independent agency because there's good reason for that. They don't have to sell you that one product they have. They can sell you a whole bunch they can look at a bunch of different policies and find that one that really meets your needs so that you get a lot of bang for your insurance buck. Isn't that what you want? I mean, if you're going to pay for insurance, don't you want the best insurance for the least amount of money? Of course you do. And that's something that an independent agency can find for you. The other thing, if you call this number, 615-329-8121, a real person, a human being will actually answer the phone. I mean, try it. I mean, you'll find that I'm not messing with you. An actual human being will actually answer that phone. You don't reach a call center. You don't reach a phone tree. And that person will help you get an answer or find somebody who can, right? Multi-policy discounts, they know that you can save a lot if you bundle. 20, 25, 30, 35% savings are possible. So get your royal review today with King & Associates Insurance. Just log on to tkinginsurance.com. That's tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance & Associates, royal treatment, great rates.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
For those of you that were not with us a little earlier, Donald Trump, with an extended appearance before reporters today, will have a little bit of what he said. British tanks now being used by Ukraine and Russia. What does that mean? And a popular game show host has passed away. We'll have those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
28 minutes past the hour. Jay Harper will be along with the news, as you heard there, in just a few moments. Let me just put this through so that you can think about it. 30-year fixed-rate mortgages averaged 6.49% this week. That's up just a hair from the last week, but this is a better number than we have seen in quite a while. And according to some of the reporting out there, mortgage applications surged 17% last week, driven by homeowners who want to refinance. Those were about a staggering 35%. And so if you have if you had to get in and had to pay a lot in interest in your deal, this is not a bad deal. And you know what? We have another rate cut probably coming in September. So it seems like we might be headed from the worst we had in these mortgage rates, and you might be able to get a better deal than what you have if you had to take a high-interest mortgage at the peak of the market. So something to think about. Again, averaging 6.5% this week, and that's much better than what they have been, and will perhaps be getting better in the next month or two. Just something to think about. Let's call it 30 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. Time for the news.
Good afternoon. It's 5:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Still pretty darn sunny. Still pretty darn hot. 93 degrees. The forecast and a traffic report coming up. Former President Donald Trump at today's afternoon press conference in New Jersey, telling reporters what he will do on his first day back in the Oval Office.
We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to get the energy prices down almost immediately, and we're going to close the border, and we're going to get the crooked ones out, the bad ones out.
And now we move over to the crisis in the Middle East, where actually we're talking Ukraine here with this particular story. Reports are indicating that British tanks appear to be utilized by Ukraine forces as part of their incursion into the Kursk region of Russia. So what is the official policy of the UK government on all this? ABC's Tom Rivers has the story in London.
Any potential dangers of escalation don't seem to be in the thinking of those at the Ministry of Defense here. The deployment of such tanks, first reported by Sky News, has prompted the British government to restate its policy that there's been no change since the green light was given for UK weapons to be used on Russian soil as part of Kyiv's self-defense.
And Circle takes the square. Sad news from L.A. Peter Marshall, the host of the game show The Hollywood Squares for 16 years, he has passed away. He died today of kidney failure at his home in Los Angeles. Mr. Marshall was 98 years of age. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, are you getting close to retirement? Think about this. Your retirement assets should be structured to minimize taxes. Hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans just like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement because you can be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, and any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Now, Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases potentially around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, do not wait a second longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
"37 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till 7 o'clock tonight, where we're going to give you all kinds of news and information. I love this story. It's hard to believe, but remember back when we had the Nord Stream pipeline that got blown up, and everybody was trying to figure, well, who's responsible for this? Was it the Russians? Did they do it? Was it the Ukrainians? Was it the United States? All this speculation about who blew up this very critical Nord Stream pipeline, which was responsible for taking natural gas from Russia and piping it into places like Germany, etc. And we now apparently have the entire story, and it's a hell of a story. I mean, this is like there's going to be a movie made of this someday, because this is unbelievable. From the Wall Street Journal, and I'm not going to be able to get through all of this because it's 18 pages long, but let me just get you some of the highlights. A drunken evening, a rented yacht, the real story of the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage. Private businessmen funded the shoestring operation, which was overseen by a top general from Ukraine. President Zelensky initially approved the plan and then tried unsuccessfully to call it off. It's just unbelievable. In May of 22, a handful of senior Ukrainian military officers and businessmen had gathered to toast their country's remarkable success in halting the Russian invasion. Buoyed by alcohol and patriotic fervor, someone suggested a radical next step, destroying the Nord Stream pipeline. After all, the twin natural gas pipelines that carried Russian gas to Europe were providing billions to the Kremlin war machine. What better way to make Vladimir Putin pay for his aggression? Just over 4 months later, in the small hours of September 26th, Scandinavian seismologists picked up signals indicating an underwater earthquake or volcanic eruptions hundreds of miles away near the Danish island of Bornholm. They were caused by 3 powerful explosions and the largest ever recorded release of natural gas, equivalent to the annual CO2 emissions of Denmark. One of the most audacious acts of sabotage in modern history. The operation worsened an energy crisis in Europe, an assault on critical infrastructure that could be considered an act of war under international law. Theories swirled about who was responsible. Was it the CIA? Could Putin have done the thing himself? Now, for the first time, the outlines of the real story can be told. The Ukrainian operation cost around $300,000, according to people who participated in it. It involved a small rented yacht with a 6-member crew, including trained civilian divers. One was a woman whose presence helped create the illusion they were just a group of friends on a pleasure cruise. I always laugh when I read media speculation about some huge operation involving secret services, submarines, drones, and satellites. One officer who was involved in the plot said, "The whole thing was born out of a night of heavy boozing and the iron determination of a handful of people who had the guts to risk their lives for their country." Here's the interesting part of it. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky initially approved the plan, according to one officer who participated and 3 people familiar with it. But later, when the CIA learned of it, CIA picked up on it. Asked the Ukrainian president to pull the plug, he ordered an halt, those people said. Zelensky's commander-in-chief, Valery Zaluzhny, was leading the effort nonetheless, and he forged ahead. The Wall Street Journal, spoke to 4 senior Ukrainian defense and security officials who either participated in or had direct knowledge of the plot. All of them said the pipelines were a legitimate target in Ukraine's war of defense against Russia. Portions of their accounts were corroborated by a nearly 2-year German police investigation into the attack, which has obtained evidence including email, mobile, and satellite phone communications, as well as fingerprints and DNA samples from the alleged sabotage team. German inquiry hasn't directly linked President Zelensky to the clandestine operation. Now, the general, now Ukraine's ambassador to the United Kingdom, said in a text exchange that he knows nothing of such an operation and that any suggestion to the contrary is a mere provocation. Ukraine's armed forces, he added, weren't authorized to conduct overseas missions, and he therefore would not have been involved. A senior official of the main Ukrainian intelligence service, SBU, denied his government had anything to do with the sabotage and said that Zelensky in particular did not approve the implementation of any action on the territory of a third countries and did not issue any relevant orders. Putin has publicly blamed the U.S. for the attacks. A senior Russian diplomat in Berlin echoed the claim, and the German investigation findings were fairy tales worthy of the Brothers Grimm. In June, Germany's federal prosecutor quietly issued the first arrest warrant in the case for a Ukrainian professional diving instructor for his alleged involvement in the sabotage. The German investigation is now focusing on this general and his aides. People familiar with the probe say, although they have no evidence that could be presented in court. The findings could upend relations between Kyiv and Berlin, which has provided much of the financing and military equipment to Ukraine, second only to the U.S. Some German political leaders may have been willing to overlook evidence pointing to Ukraine for fear of undermining domestic support for the war effort, but German police are politically independent, and their investigation took on a life of its own as they pursued one lead after another. The attack of this scale is a sufficient reason to trigger the collective defense clause of NATO, but our critical infrastructure was blown up by a country that we support with massive weapon shipments and billions in cash, said a senior German official familiar with the probe. I mean, it seems like they've got this locked down. Seems like they've got this thing pretty well put together. Again, Zelensky initially approved the plan, according to 4 people, and all arrangements were made verbally, and there is no paper trail. But the next month, the Dutch military intelligence agency MIVD learned of the plot and warned the CIA, according to several people familiar with the Dutch report. U.S. officials then promptly informed Germany, according to U.S. and German officials. The CIA warned Zelensky's office to stop the operation, U.S. officials said. The Ukrainian president then ordered this general to halt it, according to Ukrainian officers and officials familiar with the conversation, as well as Western intelligence officials. But the general ignored the order, and his team modified the original plan, these people said. The general tasked with commanding the operation listed some of Ukraine's top special operations officers with experience in orchestrating high-risk clandestine missions against Russia to help coordinate the attack. One of them was Roman Chervinsky, a decorated colonel who previously served in Ukraine's main security and intelligence service, the SBU. Chervinsky is currently on trial in Ukraine on unrelated charges. In July, he was released on bail after over a year in detention. Reached after his release, he declined to comment on the Nord Stream case, saying he wasn't authorized to speak about it. This goes on and on. Listen to this. In September of 22, the plotters rented a 50-foot leisure yacht called the Andromeda in Germany's Baltic port town of Rostock. The boat was leased with the help of Polish travel agency that was set up by Ukrainian intelligence to cover for financial transactions nearly a decade ago, according to Ukrainian officers and people familiar with the German investigation. One crew member, a military officer on active duty who was fighting in the war, was a seasoned skipper, and 4 were experienced deep-sea divers, people familiar with the German investigation said. The crew included civilians, one of whom was a woman in her 30s who had trained privately as a diver. She was handpicked for her skills, but also to lend more plausibility to the crew's disguise. They were just friends on a holiday, according to one person familiar with the planning. The skipper took a short leave from his unit, which had been fighting on the front in the southeast of Ukraine, and his commander was kept in the dark, according to 2 Ukrainians familiar with the plot. Ukraine has a long history of training top civilian and military divers. A military base on the Crimean Peninsula in the past trained deep-sea divers for the purposes of sabotage and demining. It also kept combat dolphins trained to attack enemy divers and blow up ships, according to 2 senior Ukrainian officers. The base was taken over by Russia after it occupied Crimea, and some of the staff moved elsewhere in Ukraine. And now we get to the 3-hour tour, a 3-hour tour. Armed with only diving equipment, satellite navigation, a portable sonar, and open-source maps of the seabed charting the position of the pipelines, the crew set out. 4 divers worked in pair, according to people familiar with the German investigation. Operating in pitch-dark, icy waters, they handled a powerful explosive known as HMX that was wired to time-controlled detonators. A small amount of the light explosive would be sufficient to rip open the high-pressure pipes. Spending 20 minutes at that depth requires about 3 hours of decompression, and the person must then refrain from diving for at least 24 hours to risk serious injury. Inclement weather forced the crew to make an unplanned stop in a Swedish port. One diver accidentally dropped an explosive device to the bottom of the sea. The crew briefly discussed whether to abort the operation due to bad weather, but the storm soon subsided, 2 people familiar with the operation said. Witnesses on the other yachts moored in the Swedish port of Sandhamn noticed that the Andromeda was the only boat with a small Ukrainian flag hoisted up its mast. In the wake of the attack, which took out 3 of the 4 conduits forming the pipelines, energy prices surged. Germany and other nations scrambled to nationalize energy companies that handled Russian gas, but collapsed around the pipelines after the pipelines were destroyed. Even today, Germany is paying around $1 million a day to lease floating terminals for liquefied natural gas, or LNG, which is only partly replacing the Russian gas that was flowing through the Nord Stream pipeline. Can you imagine this? I mean, this is like a Bond movie, isn't it? Except that it was carried out by they all got together and started drinking, and somebody came up with this idea, and they said, yeah. And even though, he went up the chain of command and Zelensky initially approved it, when the CIA found about it, he said, no, Zelensky, you got to shut this down. You can't do it. So it really wasn't too much of a surprise to the CIA, perhaps, at that point, that the Ukrainians had been responsible for this. It goes on and on to talk about it, but I mean, it is one of the most fascinating tales I've ever heard about somebody carrying out real-time espionage. And you just can't make the level of detail in this report is so good. You just can't make this kind of stuff up. But I guarantee you, before long, this will be, and no doubt in my mind, this will be a movie that you see on a screen coming near to you soon. It is 50 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. You should let the team at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa help you achieve your weight loss goals. Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management in Wilson County. Call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124 or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com. That's long. Let me give it to you again. Restorationwellnessmedspa.com to book a consultation today. Now, you're going to meet my friends Carly and Jamie, and they will take great care of you like you're part of the family. I certainly feel that way. I am a patient there. I'm part of the more than 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. Weight loss can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, and enhance your overall health. I've lost 25 pounds, and I'm telling you, feeling great. These are customized treatments. Not one size fits all. They asked me about my unique needs, lifestyle, and goals, and then they came up with a plan that worked for me. They'll come up with a plan that works for you. Whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Learn about the newest technology, the newest methods in weight loss management. RestorationWellnessMedSpa.com. That's RestorationWellnessMedSpa.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Good evening. It's 6 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Plenty of sunshine, and it is still hot. 93 degrees. A forecast and a traffic report are on the way. Former President Donald Trump took reporters' questions today, including one about fellow Republicans urging him to stay focused on the issues rather than leveling personal attacks. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has more.
Some people say, oh, why don't you be nice?
Shrugging off calls to avoid personal attacks on his opponent, Donald Trump said he feels entitled to go after Kamala Harris personally.
I'm very angry at her that she'd weaponized the justice system against me and other people. Very angry at her. I think I'm entitled to personal attacks.
Ahead of Harris unveiling her economic agenda in a speech in North Carolina, Trump offered this pre-buttal.
You know what? She's in there now. She can do anything she wants.
Now let's switch over to the Middle East. A grim milestone in the war in Gaza. The Hamas-run health ministry says that including combatants, the death toll has reached 40,000, with more than 92,000 others wounded. More from Tom Sufi Burridge, he's out of Tel Aviv with ABC.
The Israeli military says it has killed more than 15,000 combatants, but within that figure of 40,000 killed, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, they say about 11,000 children have been killed. And we've certainly seen, even in the last 24 hours, a lot of graphic video coming out of Khan Yunis, where the Israeli military continues its operations, showing badly injured children.
Now we turn to health news as global health experts raising the alarm today on an emerging virus strain. Ariel Reshef, she has more.
This morning, the World Health Organization declaring Mpox, the virus formerly known as monkeypox, a public health emergency of international concern as cases of a dangerous new strain spread across parts of Africa. Total number of cases is up an alarming 160% compared to last year.
And finally, back here in Middle Tennessee, a wanted man with a criminal history was taken into custody in Mount Juliet this afternoon following a short police chase along Interstate 40 East. According to Mount Juliet police, a 57-year-old man was wanted out of Nashville for violation of community supervision and removing a GPS monitor for a rape conviction. Authorities said license plate readers in Mount Juliet detected his car entering I-40. The man then led police on a pursuit until his vehicle broke down on the interstate. Police said he then took off out of his car, running across the westbound traffic lane near mile marker 230 on I-40, but he was quickly arrested. He certainly fouled up traffic for quite some time. Officials did not release the man's name, but they say he was driving on a revoked license, among other things. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, good evening, everybody. 6 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till 7 o'clock. And then we hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one. Glad that you're with us. We've had a really interesting show. I was just looking. Hard to believe. Now, Chris, you kept a clock on it better than I did. You say that the press conference, which started out with about an hour of opening remarks, ran about an hour 45, right?
Give or take, yeah, pretty close.
Give or take a few minutes, an hour 45. So the better part of 2 hours, and he was we carried a lot of it right here on Super Talk 99.7 during this program. He's going to do another event in New Jersey tonight, another rally. Wow! So it's going to be so basically 2 hours that he did, rounding up. 2 hours he did this afternoon, and he's going to go another 2 hours tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's a lot of Diet Coke, man.
I guess it is. I'm telling you. And, he was in classic form today. Good stuff. I think somebody has told him, try to stay, on message. And so he came out with a big briefing book that it took him about an hour to work through. So, there was a lot of meat in there. But the big story here, though, of course, is compare and contrast that to Kamala Harris, who is running from the press right now, won't answer any questions, does her little events, but then runs away like a scared little bunny rabbit anytime, somebody tries to ask her a question. I think that when you compare and contrast, the American people can see which guy is out there trying to mix it up and who is running scared. But one way or the other, interesting day. And, the guy's like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps on going and going and going. Listen, I remember back when Joe Biden is in Las Vegas. And all of a sudden, they cancel his evening speech, and they rush him out to Air Force One. And Chris, back me up on this because we talked about it a lot on this program. The pictures of him climbing up the short stairs to Air Force One. It's maybe 10 steps. Not the big stairs, the lower stairs. He looked like death warmed over.
Yeah, it was a real struggle for him.
For him to go up those 10 steps was about it. I didn't think he was going to make it. He sort of weaved his way up the thing, and then the last step, I thought he was going to maybe fall over. And then remember when he got to Delaware, remember this as well. That the reporters that were on board Air Force One, there's always a small group of reporters that travel with the president wherever he goes, and a small group of reporters in the back reported that the trip from Las Vegas to Delaware was done in record time. Now, they said they had to cancel the evening event because he had been diagnosed as having a mild case of COVID-19. That's what they said. But I never felt like that was the whole story. And then, a few days later, he gets out of the race, right? So maybe there's more to this story than meets the eye. And I want to share with you a thing that we have here. This is a tape that has been now released because they did a FOIA request, and there was no way for them to deny the FOIA request of the radio traffic from the Las Vegas Police Department. Now, if you've never been to an event like this, let me tell you how it works. President has a motorcade, but it's always added to by usually, anywhere from I'd say 5 to 10, depending on the size of the place where you are, police motorcycles. And these they look impressive when they come roaring down the road, and you see the motorcycles first with all the sirens and the lights going. Then you see, some other stuff. Then you see the motorcade, and you see the beast and all that kind of stuff. And it's really impressive to see. And I've been in a lot of these motorcades, but it's always local police that do sort of the escort to and from. They know the local streets, but they're also there for another reason, to block traffic. In other words, you go up to, they'll run up ahead to a major intersection. They will stop all the traffic so the motorcade can get through. This is the way they do it. This is how it's done. On this day, Biden has an early event at a Mexican food restaurant. And then he was supposed to leave the Mexican food restaurant and get ready for the evening event. But he never left the Mexican food restaurant as quickly as he's supposed to. He said he was there about an hour longer than he was supposed to have been. And everybody was sort of mystified about what's going on. Why is he hanging out in this Mexican food restaurant for so long? Well, now comes word that the Las Vegas police had been told, listen, he's not well. And that's all they said. And so they began to clear the roadways between that Mexican food restaurant and the Trauma 1 Center, the Level 1 Trauma Center that was there in Las Vegas. And we know this because we have now the recordings from the police radios. Here's the dispatcher.
I need to get all the major intersections with lights shut down from Desert Inn all the way to Russell. So if units could just start calling out what intersections they're going to, I think that's going to be used. Let's start with the big ones.
You know, he sounds like he's rather amped up. They're like there's an urgency in his voice. If you ever been around police dispatchers, they generally are not urgent about anything, but he seems very animated.
Yeah, units on the event channel are going to be moving with the package. But yeah, I want you to just focus on those 3 major intersections for now.
So there's clearing the roadways between the Mexican food restaurant and the hospital.
This flag on the POTUS movement, if you can monitor Event 8 channel, that's where movement will occur.
They're telling people who are now blocking these streets to listen to a certain channel.
Yeah, for those units that are coming, just start going up and down Eastern, look for an intersection that needs to be shut down, and then just shut it down. I'm at Maryland and DI, confirming we're still holding these intersections.
Yeah, so now they're saying, are we still supposed to hold? How long are we supposed to hold these things? Because they didn't see the motorcade coming. And you get an answer.
All right, so right now they're on a hold for something with the president. So if you can go ahead and let some of that north and south flow, but not east and west, just north and south, please.
All right, so they're giving them a little bit more information. Now, the next voice that you're going to hear is from one of the officers that's on the motorcade duty. And he has something to say. Listen carefully.
Go ahead, sir. Okay, for everybody on the radio, right now POTUS is 421.
POTUS is 421. Now, that may not mean anything to you because you don't know a lot about police codes. And by the way, every police department I've ever been around has a different set of codes. But in Las Vegas, when you say POTUS is 421, what you're saying is the president of the United States is either sick or injured. That's what that means. So he says POTUS is 421.
Control 302. 302, go ahead, sir. Okay, for everybody on the radio, right now POTUS is 421. He's being seen, so we're kind of waiting to see how this is shaping out. So for everybody's knowledge, he's 421 right now. We're just trying to figure out what's going on, and we're going to go from there.
421. So something was going on. Now, the police were on alert. You can tell the urgency in their voice. And then all of a sudden a decision is made. We're not going to the hospital. We're going to go to the airport. And then we saw him barely make it up the steps of Air Force One. When he got to Delaware, they had to physically load him into the car because he was not looking good. And we've all wondered what was going on there. What was going on? We may never know, but at least now we know that at some point, police officers there on the scene were told, we may need to go to the hospital, and the president is not feeling well. He's sick or injured, is what we were told. All right. This even made a little item on the evening news there in Las Vegas on News 3. The hospital was prepared for something. They didn't know what.
Well, Dana and Marie, the response here, very swift. The hospital receiving an alert at around 2:15 this afternoon about a possible medical issue with the president not involving trauma. Of course, as we know, the president did not come here to UMC behind me, but team members were ready to go on high alert.
We're extremely proud of how we responded. We opened up our incident command center today, tested that system. That worked well. So again, a great report from a major event.
President Biden did not come here to UMC, but if he had been here, Van Houweling tells me it would have been a first for the hospital to treat a president for a medical issue. Reporting live outside of UMC, I'm Kristen Drummond, News 3.
Now, the official story is he was not feeling good because he's got a case of COVID-19. But was that really what was going on there? I don't know. Do you think if somebody came out and said to the local police, the president is not feeling well, looks like he's got a case of COVID-19, do you think they would have reacted the way they did? No. Something was going on there. And we don't know exactly what it was. Could it have been a TIA? Could it have been what they call a mini stroke? These things that often clear by themselves. What was going on? But something was going on with the president of the United States, and we have not to this date, I think, been told the entire truth. And I'll tell you, the Secret Service seems like to me right now would be a good time for them to start telling the truth because they got their own problems. By the way, speaking of Secret Service, this story is unbelievable. You know, there's an investigation into what happened at Butler, but now listen to this. The President Donald Trump, former President Trump, was in North Carolina yesterday. And this is being reported by Susan Crabtree at Real Clear Investigation. She's got some sources inside the Secret Service and has broken a number of stories. During a Donald Trump visit to North Carolina yesterday, a woman Secret Service agent abandoned her post to breastfeed with no permission or warning to the event site agent, according to 3 sources in the Secret Service community. Shortly before Trump's motorcade arrival, I'm told 5 minutes beforehand, the site agent was getting ready for the arrival. The site agent is the person in charge of the entire event security. The site agent went to do one final sweep of the walking route and found the agent breastfeeding her child in a room that is supposed to be set aside for important Secret Service official work, like at a potential emergency related to the president. A working agent on duty cannot bring a child to a protective assignment. The woman out of the Atlanta field office, the woman agent was in the room with 2 other family members. The agent and family members bypassed the Uniform Division checkpoint and were escorted by an unpinned, when you say unpinned in Secret Service, when you're part of an event involving the Secret Service, I've actually had one of these. They give you a little pin that you wear on your collar. It's just a little clip. And so when you have the pin, it means you're okay. You've cleared a background check. So they were escorted by an unpinned event staff into the room to breastfeed, the sources said. So there you have it. There was apparently, they say, no impact to the North Carolina event. The specifics of the incidents are being examined. Given that this is a personnel matter, the Secret Service was not answering any further questions about it. Pretty unbelievable. I mean, again, we think of the Secret Service as being 10 foot tall and bulletproof and just, they are godlike in the way that they conduct their business. They're the best of the best of the best. It seems like lately what we're hearing a lot is there are a bunch of screw-ups in this, just like there are a lot of screw-ups everywhere. just saying. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Hey, if you're a fan of Legend Steakhouse like I am, you can enjoy some of those same flavors right at home, right off your very own grill. Just take a walk down your local grocery store aisles, place like Walmart and Kroger, and look for Johnny Fleeman's very own brand. Now, Johnny Fleeman's Marinade proprietary blend will give your steaks, chicken, or chops a flavor that will hit a home run with family and friends. It's low in sodium, about a third of other brands, so you don't have to worry about over-marinating. And then talk about his honey mustard salad dressing. Use it as a salad dressing or a dipping sauce for your favorite chicken fingers, fresh cut veggies, or chips, a recipe used in his restaurants for over 35 years. And if your favorite grocer isn't stocking Johnny Fleeman products, ask them to do so. For more information, go to johnnyfleeman.com. That's johnnyfleeman.com. And it goes without saying, for those times when you want someone else to do the cooking, they'll always be glad to see you at your nearest Legend Steakhouse for lunch or for dinner.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Relief is coming on drug prices for those on Medicare. It'll be a while, but it will get here. And we'll have the money news, the closing money news, in addition to that drug price story. That's all at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 25 past the hour of 6 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till 7, and then we'll let Mark Levin take over for a while. And he does take over. He comes on like a vengeance, doesn't he? I don't know what to tell you about this, folks. Remember back in the day, I think it was, been more than a year now, when the federal government came up with this brilliant idea that they were going to ban your gas stove. Now, being married to someone who's a pretty good cook, this got her attention. It got a lot of Americans' attention because, if you're a gourmet cook, and I'm proud to say my wife is, then, you want a gas stove. There's something about a gas stove. And they say it heats the burners more exactly, more quickly, and it's just a better cooking experience. And I myself was, I grew up around electric stoves all my life, and it wasn't until, about maybe 5-6 years ago, I rented a place that had a gas stove, and I came to understand, hey, this is great. I love having a gas stove. Well, the government said, well, they're dangerous and, they're toxic and there's all kinds of fumes that come off of them. It's easily solved if you just turn on the vent hood It's not dangerous at all if you just turn on the vent hood. Doesn't collect any kind of fumes in the house that could be dangerous because it goes to the outside, vented to the outside. But the government, the Biden administration, they hated these gas stoves. Why? Because they're gas. We don't want anything that has to do with fossil fuels, natural gas, or otherwise. So they said they were going to do away with them, and there was such a hue and cry. I mean, there was a wailing and a gnashing of the teeth, and people were so upset that they said to the federal government, how dare you talk about taking away our gas stove? And boy, did they back down in a hurry. Oh, it was just, somebody thinking out loud. No, don't worry about this. Nobody's going to take your gas stove, because they got in such trouble from the American people who felt like, no, this is a step too far to outlaw my gas stove. Turns out they're going to take away your gas stove, or they're going to put significant regulations on them. After all, redstate.com. It's been over a year now that the topic of government control over gas stoves in the home has generated its share of controversy, with the media playing along. The Biden administration has been striving to place restrictions on these appliances, but each time it's been mentioned, there has been a significant pushback on the move, both publicly and politically, and then an abrupt shift in the messaging would take place. The persistence of this effort typifies the leftist desire for control and the unceasing drive for such. As a result of the constant pushing and announcements just been made that new rules will be instituted on gas stoves, the Department of Energy has declared it will be finalizing these new standards despite congressional efforts to halt it, as well as bipartisan and public opposition. That's right. It started in January of 2023 with a statement by Richard Trumka Jr., a trial balloon that he sent up from his post at the Consumer Product Safety Commission, said we need to rethink the safety aspects of gas stoves. But stand by, ladies and gentlemen. There is little doubt that they now are going to put significant, and so this is the way they always do it. They deny, oh, we're not going to ban them. We're just going to make the regulations so onerous and so burdensome that no manufacturer is going to want to make them, and if they did, it wouldn't be anything that you wanted to own. That's the way they get you. I mean, I've had enough of the government messing around with the appliances in our homes. I mean, it's a constant battle. I mean, it first started out way back during the Clinton years with the low-flow toilets, right? And, we're using too much water to flush. Well, you know what? You end up having to flush twice, so you're still using the same amount of water, because the one flush doesn't get it. Especially if you're a big boy like me. We don't need to go there. I'm sorry. Why did I even say that? I'm sorry. But I'm telling you, one flush doesn't get it. And then they said, well, we're gonna make your dishwasher doesn't need to use that much water. And you know what? They don't clean as well either. They just don't. I mean, have you ever had to rerun a load of dishes because they just didn't get clean? I mean, you might as well just wash them by hand before you put them in there. It's ridiculous. And, then now they want to mess with hot water heaters. They want to mess with gas stoves. They got all this thing. That's really, their battle right now is aimed on fossil fuels, which it has always been. They don't like fossil fuels. And if a gas stove is something that you want, they want to deny you of it. But they haven't met Cabana Wife yet. It is 30 minutes past the hour.
Good evening. It is 6:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got sunshine, 93 degrees, another traffic report, and a weather forecast are coming up. In an announcement today by both President Biden and Vice President Harris, the cost of 10 drugs for Americans on Medicare are being lowered. President Biden said the move will enable enrollees to pay for drugs that will treat things such as heart failure, arthritis, diabetes, and more.
Too many Americans can't afford the drugs they badly need for life and death. So they skip doses, cut pills in half, forego prescriptions entirely because the prescription drugs are totally unaffordable.
The plan is scheduled to take effect in January of 2026. The closing money news is now coming to us from Daria Albinger.
From ABC News Wall Street, now stocks rallied on more signs that inflation is easing. The Dow jumped 573 points. The S&P rose 88. And the Nasdaq added 402 for the day. A robust report on retail sales fueled the markets. They were up 1% in July, the biggest gain in a year and a half, further easing worries that the economy may be weakening from higher prices and interest rates. Auto dealers, electronics and appliance stores, and grocery stores also reporting strong sales gains. We are still bargain hunting, though, and Walmart is benefiting from it. The nation's largest retailer is raising its full year outlook after reporting better than expected earnings. The number of Americans who applied for unemployment benefits fell last week by 7,000 to 227,000. Starbucks incoming CEO Brian Nichols could make well over $100 million in his first year with the company, with a contract which is heavy on incentives.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
You know, the folks at United Structural Systems have some special offers that are going on right now. They call them back-to-school promotions, and I want to make sure you know of them because, honestly, if you look around your house and you think, I've got problems with my foundation, I got a wet basement, and I need some waterproofing. I may have a mold problem, and I definitely have some concrete that's sloped or slanting, needs to be put back nice, plumb and level. Well, this would be the time to do it because right now they have 10% off any job over $2,500. Save some money. Save some big money that way. 10% off. They have same as cash options available. No payment, no interest for 1 year with approved credit. And they want you to know that you can't combine these with any other coupons or previously discounted quotes. One of the things that I think is great about United Structural Systems is you don't pay a penny until the job is done and you're completely satisfied. They'll come out and they'll tell you what's going on. It doesn't cost you a penny to find out. And they'll run the numbers for you. They'll tell you everything that's going on, give you their recommendation. And if you decide to go forward, again, you don't pay a penny until the job is done and you're completely satisfied. So if you need foundation repair, basement issues, mold treatment, concrete leveling, why don't you do what I would do? Call the folks at USS, United Structural Systems, serving Middle Tennessee and southern and western Kentucky. They guarantee their best at USS. Find out more by going to their website, USSTN.com. And here's the number. Write it down, 615-488-7855. "38 minutes past the hour, 22 minutes from now, we will hand it over to the news. And after the news, Mark Levin, he's here, will be here to carry you on through the evening. I think I got a bunch of different stories here, and, you know, they don't relate one to the other. So I guess, Chris, it's time to pull out the squish machine. Ooh. We haven't squished in a while. So, again, because they don't go together smoothly, it's no way to sort of segue between the two. Or to blend them, we're going to have to squish them. Okay, here we go. The Kamala Harris presidential campaign wants job applicants to designate their pronouns. And there are plenty of options. The Harris for President online application form, you can check this out yourself, offers a wealth of gender-neutral pronoun choices, including they, them, ze, them, Z here, I am, it's EYEM, here, HIR, fay, fair, and hoo-hoo. I think we all want to be the hoo-hoo, right? It's hoo-hoo is short for human.
Well, I mean, I don't know. There's some that I don't think could check that box. I'm not sure there are human anyway.
Along with the more pedestrian he, him, she, her, would-be campaign workers shouldn't feel hemmed in by the campaign list either because there are boxes for custom pronouns. Maybe we missed one. Or just use your name only. That may be the best thing. Just call me by my name. Although the application encourages candidates to make a selection. Let the employer know what pronouns you use so they can address you correctly, the application says. The so-called neo-pronouns are considered gender-neutral, although some have additional meanings. Hoo-hoo, H-U-H-U, is short for human, while the they, fair pronouns may, quote, may have connotations to fairies for a given individual, according to the Urban Dictionary. Who knows? The questions don't end with pronouns. The campaign also wants to know about the candidate's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, with such questions as, how would you contribute to building a diverse culture? How about, what are your qualifications for this job? What success have you had at your previous job? What makes you think you're good enough to do this job? I mean, goodness gracious. So there you have it. The Kamala Harris presidential campaign job application. And I think we all just would put down hoo-hoo. You
I think that means what everyone is going to think it means.
It's H-U-H-U. Hoo-hoo. Or Hugh. I guess it would be Hugh since it's human.
Fair enough.
I don't know. All right. We haven't had an opportunity in the longest time, Chris, to do the scooter story. Remember the e-scooters?
Ooh. Oh, wait a minute. We got to properly do this. All right.
Oh, wait, we didn't squish, did we? Well, you know, when we talk about e-scooters, there's another thing that has to be played. You know what it is.
Oh, really? You know what? I think that got...
Are you kidding me? The Bird Scooter song?
It got hidden, so I'm going to have to find it.
Well, you look while I tell the story. Because, you know, we used to talk about the e-scooters. Here they come. And there they go. Another major city has banned e-scooter rentals from its streets. We should do this. When it comes to wheels, it's hard to deny that rented e-scooters are among the most divisive modes of transportation in the world right now. The micro-mobility machines have become a common sight on major city streets around the globe in recent years, often praised for being an efficient and sustainable way for people to get around, if they survive it. I mean, you know, what has also happened is people get injured all the time by these scooters. But now... officials in the Austrian city of Melbourne have decided to take things further by banning electric scooter rentals altogether, citing safety concerns following hundreds of complaints and accident reports as the reason for the move. The city council in Melbourne, very advanced thinkers, voted to end the contract with its two e-scooter operations, Lime and Neuron. Apparently, Chris... by the way you're gazing at me, I assume that you had found it?
I'm ready, yeah.
Apparently they don't have any Bird scooters in Melbourne. I'll never forget Ken Weaver dancing to this every time we did it.
Classic.
Drum solo. Yeah. Well, anyway, Melbourne has done away with them, and they're giving them 30 days to get the daggum scooters out of the way. And you're not going to turn it down for the best part, are you?
Oh, you were waiting on that, were you?
Oh, yeah. Everybody's heard about the Bird.
Deep breath. Oh, it's great.
I tell you, that never gets old for me. Every day we should find a reason to do that. I don't know why. But I always remember looking across through your window into Ken Weaver's room, and where he would be doing the bird dance.
If that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, he had a bird dance. It was something else. All right, time to squish another story in here. He's stuck in space, but Butch Wilmore is staying connected with Tennessee Tech from WTVF. It's unclear when and how NASA plans to bring home its astronauts stuck on the International Space Station. But even from space, Tennessee native Barry Butch Wilmore is keeping in touch with the folks at his alma mater, Tennessee Tech University. Barry is a graduate of Tennessee Tech. He came there, believe it or not, as a walk-on football player from Mount Juliet, said Phil Oldham, Tennessee Tech University president. He can list many of Wilmore's achievements. He went on to join the Navy. He was a Navy fighter pilot for half of his career. He majored in electrical engineering. He spent the second half of his career as an astronaut. Barry is Buzz Lightyear in real life, says Oldham. And with Wilmore's third trip to space underway, he's a true example of going to infinity and beyond his, they suggested 9-day trip. It's supposed to be a 9-day tour. A 9-day tour. But it turned out to be, well, we're now in our second month. And they still don't know how they're going to get him back. I mean, so you're the guy who had to get this thing docked. And as you're docking the Boeing space capsule, I think 4 of your thrusters go out of service. I mean, it was a miracle he got the thing docked, is what it sounds like to me. And then, they're saying, well, if the thrusters are failing, when you go back in, that's a pretty critical part of the old space adventure, going back in at just the right angle. If you don't get just the right angle, you do one of 2 things. You burn up in a fireball, or you skip off into space, never to return again. I mean, the options, you got to hit the groove on that thing. No room for error. And so, Boeing is saying, well, it's going to be fine. Don't worry. But, NASA is trying to figure out what to do here. And so what it sounds like is that we'll know in about a week or so now whether or not they're going to go back in the Boeing capsule, which has malfunctioned, or they're going to go back on a SpaceX Dragon capsule. SpaceX may have to rescue the Boeing astronauts.
That's embarrassing.
And that Elon Musk is going to love that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't been rubbing it in. He's been a little disciplined about that, because it's not good to gloat over somebody's misfortune. But I mean, it really would be sort of don't worry, Boeing. I'm sorry you had a little problem with your capsule, but we've been doing this for a while now. We'll get those guys home. Don't you worry. But apparently they have to make that decision in the next 2 weeks. Final story. Fake images are everywhere. Here's how you can spot them. I found this story and I thought it was interesting. Artificial intelligence continues to develop. It's getting harder and harder to tell the difference between real photographs and AI-generated images. AI can create everything from stunning landscapes to lifelike portraits in a matter of moments, and at first glance, they may appear perfectly legitimate. So how can you discern if the images you're seeing are real or fabricated? Number 1, look at the hands and the limbs. Hands and limbs are surprisingly complex structure, and AI often struggles to accurately replicate them. Looking for extra, oddly shaped, or misaligned fingers. There may be a position in an unusual way or have improper dimensions. Apparently, AI struggles with hands and arms. So if you see that, that's a pretty good sign that it's AI. Discrepancies in details. AI has a difficulty rendering small details, so you might see objects and elements being subtly merged together in unnatural ways. These imperfections occur because AI relies on pattern recognition, which can fail when handling intricate or nuanced detail. So if you're uncertain if a crowd photo is legitimate, take a look at the details. For example, the background faces are often blurred or have soft, poorly defined characteristics. In this AI-generated image that they showed, a man had a blurry face and fingerless hands. See, that would be a dead giveaway. It's AI. If the skin looks overly perfect, having an overly smooth face with very little texture is a sign of an AI-generated photo. It's a lack of genuine texture, and flaws can almost make the individual look comical. So if it looks like if the complexion is too perfect, there's a pretty good chance it's AI. Misalignments. AI can struggle with alignments resulting in disjointed or incoherent appearance because elements don't align properly. Inconsistencies and asymmetries in small details. Garbled writing, not necessarily in the written word, but in things in a picture. If there's writing in a picture, they say, look at that. And finally, blurry backgrounds. Because that's the way they get away with a lot of what they do, is they just sort of make the background very, very blurry. 50 minutes now, past the hour of 6 o'clock. Grace Point Healthcare, they want to make sure that you have access to affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medical care. I mean, that's what they're all about. Deliver the old-fashioned way. That's the way they do it. So maybe you've got some things on your horizon that you need to take care of. Your kids involved in sports, you got to do a sports physical. Grace Point provides complete physicals for kids of all ages. Scheduling an international trip, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and all other international immunization protocols. And because they will see you the same or the next day, you won't have to wait days or weeks or even longer to see a doctor. What good is medicine if it's not when you need it? Listen, at Grace Point, they want to provide you that service within a day or two. That's modern medicine at your convenience. Affordable, comprehensive, convenient. They're on Main Street in Franklin, 615-599-6868 to schedule an appointment.